Then Lin Yan was like a cannonball kicking towards a boulder like a building. Lin Yan's kick was like the last straw that overwhelmed the stone that was about to be pulled out. The boulder was completely pulled out from the alley, and then thrown onto a row of houses outside. With the scene seen before by Levi et al. Just when a few people were surprised, Lin Yan had once again stood on the rock that was dragged out by the Titan. Rumble rumble. The heavy boulder was slowly moving under the pull of the Wugo Titan, and the places where the boulder moved were crushed and cracked. Hush. As the Wugo Titan crazily charged forward, the iron chain was constantly being pulled. Standing on the boulder, Lin Yan watched the boulder move forward bit by bit. He looked to the frontmost position. Ho ho ho. The 12 Wugo Titans are like 12 giant beasts, regardless of the iron chains on their bodies. Frantically charged towards the 20,000 people who were used as bait in the distance. Their huge roar spread in all directions, and many Titans who heard the sound rushed over the front of the Titan. The 20,000 people did not run wildly, they were under the guidance of the core. Always maintain a distance where the Titan can see them and touch them. Come here, bastard. It kind of kills me. In the crowd, some people watched as the Titan was restrained by the chains and couldn't get close to them. The long-suppressed emotions and anger of the civilians were released, and they cursed at Titan. More than 20,000 people watched Titan being chained, and their fear of Titan dissipated a lot. For the first time, they knew that they could one day have the courage to stand in front of a Titan. Most of the people present were displaced by the Titan. In the past, because they were afraid of Titans, they didn't even dare to hate Titans. But today, under the leadership of Lin Yan, they not only pulled the boulder out from a long distance, but also put the eye on the chain. Watching Lin Yan lead the hunter group to kill the Titan before, they just thought that the Titan could be killed. But now they are standing in front of the Titan, but the Titan can't touch them. This feeling is completely different. Seeing that there was nothing wrong with the induced troops, Lin Yan moved his gaze further afield. That's where everyone in the hunter group is. At this time, the hunter group has already fought with the Titan. Pooh. Pooh. The 50 hunters were like a huge meat grinder, standing in front of the induced troops. Although a steady stream of Titans came over. But these unscrupulous Titans are no longer a big threat in front of today's hunter group. That's why in less than a minute, more than a dozen Wugo Titans were completely killed by the crowd. In the field. After killing a Titan, Levi looked back at Lin Yan. Immediately afterwards, it charged towards a 13-meter level Wugo Titan again. As the captain of the first team, he is not compared to others. In addition, Lin Yan was in charge of the finishing touch at Jushi, so he killed some Titans more. The risk of Lin Yan being surrounded is much smaller. Not just Levi, everyone is concentrating on killing. Everyone felt vaguely. Lin Yan standing on the boulder is like standing on the huge stone platform in the underground street when they were young. Just like watching them train. Because they wanted to perform well, everyone couldn't help but kill the Titans much faster. Lin Yan looked back at everyone. The movement of the boulder is not fast though. But it has already moved nearly 100 meters in a minute or so. As long as you maintain this speed for 20 minutes, you can move to the city gate. City? Wall. Everyone is also paying attention to the progress of the recapture battle. As the second commander-in-chief of this recapture battle, Pixis is naturally one of them. This method actually succeeded. I hope there won't be any trouble in the middle. Watching the huge boulder like a hill being pulled towards the field by 12 Titans about 15 meters long. Pixie, who couldn't sleep for days. The jug in his hand couldn't help trembling with excitement. This is the closest he has come to success in his life. After a lifetime of failures, Pixis saw the dawn of success for the first time. Commander, that giant-fisted giant still hasn't appeared. Then pay attention, and if present, fire the flare immediately. Hearing Hannes' report, Pixis frowned just now because of surprise. Wrinkled slightly again. That strange species is the most powerful one that everyone has seen since they came here this time. But the strange thing is that no one has seen this Titan in the past few days. It seems to have disappeared. The reason why everyone chose to fight back last night was to avoid being disturbed by this Titan. Next to Pixie. The 200,000 people who were also paying attention to the situation in the arena, all clenched their fists tightly and looked at the arena excitedly. In order to see clearly, 200,000 people are distributed in a range of 5 or 6 kilometers. At first glance, it was full of densely packed human heads. That lord is simply a genius. Didn't you say yesterday that that method is impossible? You must have heard it wrong. I didn't say that. I heard an old woman next to me sigh. Sasha immediately revealed the fact that she suspected Lin Yan's plan yesterday. In fact, many people could not believe yesterday that the boulder could be moved in this way. But the truth caused everyone's faces to be slapped. They couldn't help sighing secretly. Lin Yan's amazing whimsy. Father, I found someone who is better than you. Sasha looked at the audience, although she often likes to quarrel with her father. But since childhood, she admired her father the most, but now, she admires one more person. That is Lin Yan, who is strategizing in the arena. The appearance of Lin Yan standing on the boulder and driving the Titan made her particularly shocked. Has the Survey Corps also joined the fray? Because Sasha was looking at Lin Yan's position, she inadvertently glanced at the place behind Lin Yan. There is the Survey Corps, and everyone in the Survey Corps is responsible for protecting the position behind Lin Yan. Be vigilant and stop them. Erwin led the remaining 30 members of the Survey Corps, who were blocking the attacking Titans from the north. That's where Lin Yan's back is. Erwin looked at Lin Yan without turning around at all, and handed his back to them Survey Corps with confidence. He couldn't help feeling warm. Trust is the greatest compliment to a man. It is also the thing Erwin cherishes most in this world. That guy, the leader, has appeared. Hearing Hange's words, Erwin looked into the distance. The giant fist Titan, which had disappeared for several days, chased after another Titan and charged towards them. Naturally, everyone is no stranger to the giant fist and strange beast Titan. The ball-shaped strange species that they couldn't kill before was knocked crooked by the giant fist strange species. This giant boxer Titan is extremely aggressive. As long as he meets a Titan who is about the same height as him, he will rush to attack. Survey Corps was in Lin Yan for a few days when they were out. I have seen this strange species and attacked other strange species many times. And the Titan that killed more than 20,000 people that day was also this Titan. The Titan disappeared these days, probably to find someone to fight with it. Everyone should be vigilant about how terrifying this Titan is. How could Erwin not know? So the moment he saw this Titan, his face became gloomy. Call out. Boom. Without any hesitation, Erwin took out the flare gun and shot it into the sky. A black signal flew stretched skyward from the Survey Corps location. Black signal flares. It represents encountering strange species or unusually dangerous situations. Everyone on the battlefield, including everyone on the city wall, saw the flare. When they saw that it was black, everyone who had relaxed a little because of the progress in the recapture battle suddenly became nervous. Lin Yan turned around when he saw the black flares rising all around. In Lin Yan's plan before, the Titan was also a part of Lin Yan's plan. But then it suddenly disappeared. But since it appeared, Lin Yan is not going to let go of this Titan that has been used as a whetstone for everyone. Lin Yan began to figure out how to use this Titan to relieve the more and more Titans gathering in the arena. So Lin Yan turned his attention to the direction of the Survey Corps in the north. Far away. The giant fist Titan is currently chasing a Titan who is about 15 meters away. This Titan doesn't look much different from ordinary ones. The only thing that stands out is that it has long black hair. Under the pursuit of the giant fist Titan, this long-haired Titan has no intention of turning back. He kept running towards the battlefield. Lots of unsullied Titans along the way. Under the impact of two huge strange species, it fell to the side. The Survey Corps people in the arena fell into a huge chaos. Not only was there a large number of scaleless Titans surrounding it, but also two extremely powerful strange species rushed in. Boom. Rumble. Houses were knocked down and turned into ruins in the chaos. Gravels like meteors are also constantly lacing out. The Survey Corps people who stopped the Titan in midair not only had to avoid the attack from the Titan, but also had to be careful of all kinds of flying stones. Petra, get out of the way, bastard. Hange had just sliced off the nape of a Titan, which fell to a side tower. Prepare to attack the next target again with strength. She saw the giant-fisted strange species Titan that Petra came to avoid the impact. Reversing in the air, the steel cable connecting her body was caught in the hands of a scaleless Titan. It's about to be torn apart by Wugo Titan. Petra in midair was also shocked. She was careful enough. But the number of Titans around is really too much. Looking at the giant hand that is constantly being magnified in his own eyes, Petra recalled the moments when her teammates were caught by Titan and eaten. Ever since she joined the Survey Corps, she knew this day would come. However, she did not expect this day to come so early. It's over, this hopeless world. Facing her imminent death, Petra had no fear. She was used to it. Groan. Just as Petra watched as Titan's big hand was about to grab her, she heard a sound of rapid metal rubbing, and then she saw a scene that she will never forget. A huge iron chain shot out from a distance, and the black iron spear hook at the end of the iron chain directly pierced Wugo Titan's ribs. Then the chain was tightened, and the Wugo Titan who was grabbing at her was instantly staggered by the chain. Hange, who arrived, immediately cut off the Titan's hand. Petra's original deadlock was resolved. Click. Immediately the chain was tightened, and Titan's ribs were instantly broken. Petra and Hange, who got rid of the danger, fell to the side of the roof, standing with lingering fear. Following the direction in which the iron chain was retracted, they saw Lin Yan, who was pulling the iron chain. Lin Yan didn't pay attention to the iron chain that he shot out just now. He just tried it casually. After his power soared, Lin Yan found that his attack methods had become more diverse. Just like the iron chain just now. Can't you stop it? They looked at the Survey Corps people who were thrown into a mess after the two odd-moving titans joined the battlefield. Lin Yan couldn't help shaking his head. Although the Survey Corps were strong, they were still far behind the Hunter Corps who had been trained by Lin Yan since childhood. What's more, the Hunter group still has Levi, as well as himself. So Lin Yan was not surprised that the Survey Corps couldn't withstand the siege of so many titans. However, he didn't intend to make a move. Lin Yan has more important things to do, and that is to finish the final battle. In addition, Lin Yan also needs to adjust the direction of the titan at any time. No one can move these titans except him. Not all titans rushed to the inducement team of 20,000 responsible for attracting the titans. There have been several titans who turned back and were killed by Lin Yan. Therefore, he is the core of this battle. Time flies. City. Wall. Pix's palms were sweating faintly yet he hadn't been so nervous for a long time. 15 minutes had passed, and there was only a distance of 2 kilometers left, the last 300 meters or so. Originally there were only more than 100 titans surrounding the battlefield, but now there are more than 300. And it's still increasing. As a macro controller, Pixie must be responsible for everyone's safety. If his decision is wrong, it is very likely to put everyone in danger. After several unscaled titans who turned back were killed by Lin Yan. The huge stone that was heading towards the gate of the city slowed down. Damn it, hurry up, hurry up. On one side is victory, on the other side is the battlefield situation that is getting worse and worse. Beads of sweat rolled down Pix's forehead, he was tangled up to the extreme. Just when Pixis was very tangled, behind him, in the direction outside the city, he heard the titans roar. From far to near, it became louder and brighter. Pixie was taken aback for a moment and thumped. Commander Pixis, a group of titans are attacking from outside the city. Before Pixis could calm down, he heard his subordinates stumbling over to report their voices. 300 meters, the last 300 meters, human beings will win, they will win. Pixie looked at the surrounded crowd. He stretched out his hand to a row of flare guns on one side, and looked at the blue starting gun. Pixis growled in a low voice, his hands were shaking violently. He was not reconciled, and he could win with only 300 meters. But if you don't retreat, then once everyone is surrounded, no one can survive. Call out. Boom. Before Pixis took out the starting gun, he saw Lin Yan firing the blue starting gun in the battlefield first. That's the color of retreat. The blue column of smoke drained all his strength. After being close to the victory, he was quickly knocked down to the bottom, and Pixis closed his eyes in pain. He dared not look, those who were taken as bait. Inside. Lin Yan was 300 meters away from the gate of the city. Through the city gate, I saw the scene far away outside the city gate. It was a group of at least 100 titans, and there was an extremely fast strange species in the front. If you don't choose to be thorough, everyone in the hunter group is bound to be surrounded immediately. So Lin Yan fired the retreat flare gun without hesitation. Everyone retreat. Lin Yan's resonant voice spread all around. The 20,000 people who served as bait ran away, their task has been completed. It was agreed last night to retreat immediately when the blue flare was seen. They were taken aback when they suddenly saw the signal flare before. Some can't believe it. Because they were almost at the gate of the city, many of them had already leaned against the city wall. Victory is imminent. So they froze. But under Lin Yan's voice, they were stunned, and only then did they react. 4 spread out. In fact, Lin Yan's words were not addressed to these civilians, he was giving orders to everyone in the hunter group. After hearing Lin Yan's words, not only did all the hunters not retreat, but they rushed towards where he was. Pooh. Puff. Soon there were not many scaleless titans left who were chained. Everyone was killed by the rushing hunters. After losing the guidance of the induction group, these unscaled titans will only take the wrong direction. In addition, they didn't have much left, and they couldn't move the boulder at all. So I can only kill. Why not retreat? If Big Brother doesn't leave, we won't leave. Lin Yan looked at Levi, Mikasa and others who fell beside him, and he couldn't help showing a wry smile. He naturally knew what everyone meant. But there are only 300 meters left, so if he just gives up, then all his hard-working plans will be in vain. So Lin Yan stayed and wanted to give it a try. Rumble. The ground began to vibrate, and the ferocious expressions of the Titan group in the distance could already be seen clearly. 2 minutes later, we will retreat together. Replace gas, do one last kill. Lin Yan made a decision instantly. Titan has surrounded, not just the front. The survey corps behind has been defeated, and the 2 strange species of Titan have been killed. City. Wall. Whoa, we lost. There's no hope, there's no hope. Many people have just been transported to the city because of the boulder. And the cheering expression froze on his face. Tears were streaming down my face, and my eyes lost focus. Despair is slowly in everyone's heart. The 4 or 5 miles of the city wall were full of weeping people. The 200,000 civilians are no less eager to win than Pixis. Because once it fails, for today's people, it is death. It is impossible for them to withdraw. The time given by the kingdom was 1 month. They are not allowed to return to the Rose Wall for a month unless they can win. Otherwise, you can only wait to die. Therefore, when Lin Yan triggered the blue signal, they were both grateful and desperate. Thankfully, there are their family members in the induction team. If they are not stimulated, their family members will be killed by the Titan immediately. Desperately, they have no hope of winning. It's just that the time to die has been lengthened. Why don't they retreat? Sasha's voice was heard in the crowd. All the people who cried because of despair opened their eyes again. He looked into the city suspiciously. Sasha did not have the despair of everyone. She is a nervous person, so it is difficult to despair. So after she saw everyone retreating, it took her a long time to realize that they had lost the recapture battle this time. But she just realized that she lost. I saw all the hunters gathering in Lin Yan's direction. Is there any hope? Who can carry that stone? Inside. Pixis also saw the people left behind by the hunter group. As he who has fought against Titan for decades, he naturally knows how dangerous the current situation is. The 300 members of the garrison corps had all died, leaving only a few guards. Survey corps lost more than half again. The only thing that is more gratifying is that the hunter group has not had any casualties yet. So from this point of view, it is no exaggeration for the hunter group to be called the strongest armed force in the current wall. So the hunter group can't have an accident. If the hunter group is besieged by the Titan, then who else can fight against the Titan in the future? Phew. Boom. Pixis took out the signal starter gun, and the green smoke column quickly rose into the air. Green means keep going. Now everyone has no way out, no matter what happens to the hunter group. So Pixis launched a green flare, signaling all those who remained in the battlefield to continue attacking. This can share the pressure for the hunter group and create opportunities for retreat. See the flare. The many civilians who had rushed towards the city wall were stunned. They couldn't hold back their tears anymore, and they flowed down. They understood that this was a signal that they had repeatedly agreed to continue to attack. In fact, when they retreated, they understood that retreating was just a few days later. What does it mean when you fail? During the few days on the city wall, they had already been extinguished clearly. That's why they ran just now. A large part of the reason is that I want to die with my family. Everyone, return to defense. Create opportunities for the hunters. Canis with the personal guard of the garrison regiment PCs. Use the 3-dimensional mobile device to get down from the city wall. His voice rang in the ears of many civilians pursued by the Titan. Hearing what Hannes said, the people who had stopped after seeing the green flare now had a target for action. Regardless of the Titans attacking them, the civilians turned their heads and rushed to where the hunter group was. If the hunter group is surrounded, they will have no hope at all. At least, for the sake of their families, the civilians are willing to try again, although the hope is very slim. Go outside the city, if you still want to win. I'll protect your family. Seeing the 20,000 people turning back again, Lin Yan nodded slightly. Although it is with the intention of using 20,000 people. But Lin Yan is a very fair person. If these civilians did it, Lin Yan naturally would not bother to deceive these civilians. Come on. Fight for your family. Fight for Captain Lin Yan. Lin Yan's words also seemed to inject great courage into the hearts of more than 20,000 civilians. It ignited the fighting spirit in the hearts of these civilians who had no way out. Or let these civilians choose a more heroic way of death. Even if they were about to die in the end, they had to let their family members who were watching on the city wall see it. The last trace of dignity and courage is an ordinary person. At least many civilians who have children and are already fathers want to prove to their children at the last moment of their lives. Although they are ordinary, they absolutely do not need to be driven away. Come here, bastard, eat me. One day, Captain Lin Yan will kill you. Little bastards, live on for me, live on. The civilians in the arena trembled, cried and shouted, while provoking Titan. While saying goodbye to their family members on the city wall in various ways. Woo, Dad, Uncle my dear. City wall. Listening to the roars and howls of the induced troops under the city wall, 200,000 people cried together. Seeing one's own relatives being torn apart by Titans and chewed by Titans. The tragic scene a year ago was staged again. The Titan group saw the civilians running out of the city, and the Titans who were originally surrounded by hunters turned their heads and chased out of the city. The ground shook violently as a large number of Titans ran. A lot of smoke and dust filled the air, and the entire city of Sagansina seemed to have encountered a sandstorm. The light of day is never seen. Click, 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 click. Some slow-running humans were eaten by the Titans one by one. Giant-fisted odd-line species Titan, and long-haired odd-line species Titan are also among them. Because of the huge stature of these two strange species, the other Titans are like children in front of them. The gate of the city was gradually blocked by the Titan's huge body. Lin Yan led the hunter group to wait for the opportunity on the roofs on both sides of the main road. The moment he saw the giant-fisted odd-moving Titan and the long-haired odd-moving Titan rushing into the city gate, Lin Yan moved. Boom. Lin Yan stepped down hard with both feet, and he jumped into the sky. The originally solid roof under his feet was instantly crushed and collapsed. Then Lin Yan's body was ejected into the air, as if he was flying. An arc was drawn in the air, and it landed on a boulder 300 meters away from the city gate. Break. 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 Regardless of surprise, everyone in the hunter group activated the three-dimensional mobile device at the moment Lin Yan shot out. It shot toward the back where Lin Yan was. In the next 2 minutes, they will become Lin Yan's most solid backing. Let me go. On the boulder. Lin Yan's muscles instantly swelled, and the energy in his body began to surge. The air around him began to twist because of his rapidly rising body temperature. Then Lin Yan picked up a thigh-thick iron chain, and the hundreds of meters of steel chain with a spear was thrown out of the hospital under Lin Yan's great force. Caw 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 caw. Clank, clank, clank. Under the pull of Lin Yan's strength, the thick and heavy iron chain was like a giant python shooting out, straightening at the moment of flying out. There was an extremely rapid clanking sound, and the rust and dust on the iron chain surged out at the moment when the iron chain was straightened. The sharp spear hook at the front end of the iron chain pierced through the gravel that flew into the air and split it into two halves. Lin Lai's spear hook reflected a faint cold light. Then moved forward, unstoppable. Pooh! A loud noise burst out among the Titan group. Under Lin Yan's tremendous force, the iron chain that was supposed to be like noodles instantly turned into a hard spear, piercing into the target's body. Pooh! 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 Lin Yan's movements didn't stop. One chain after another was shot out by him. It turned into a ruthless spear, and penetrated deeply into the backs of the Titans. 12 chained spears turned the Titans inside dozens of city gates into a bunch of giant candied haws. Connected tightly. Whoops, in the city gate, the giant-fisted strange-moving Titan, the long-haired strange-looking Titan, and a large number of innocent Titans roared crazily. They are linked together. Because a large number of Titans that were penetrated at the front were madly rushing towards the humans outside the city. Being driven can only move forward and cannot turn back. The pierced Titans rushed out of the city with the boulder. Rumble. In just an instant, Lin Yan felt that the boulder under his feet moved rapidly. I don't know how much faster than before. If the previous movement speed was moving, it has become a trot now. 300 meters. 200 meters. 100 meters. The boulder is getting closer and closer to the gate of the city. Behind Lin Yan, the battle among the hunters also entered a fierce battle. Pooh. Pooh. More than 50 hunters were constantly hacking and killing in the Titan group. One by one, the Titans are like giant trees that have been cut down, falling down one after another. As time goes by, everyone's physical strength is being consumed rapidly, and many people have already started to make frequent mistakes due to lack of physical strength. Boom. Krista had just landed on the roof. A giant Wugo Titan with a big belly about 15 meters in size grabbed it, and Krista avoided it hastily. He was hit by a flying stone and lost his fighting power. Rista. Mikasa in the distance saw this scene, with the assistance of a three-dimensional mobile device. In an instant, he slashed at the nape of the big-bellied and innocent Titan from a high altitude. Before the big-belly Wugo Titan had time to attack Krista again, he was completely killed by Mikasa. Leave me alone, Lin Yan big brother has a Titan over there. Mikasa hugged Krista and jumped up a tall tower. Regardless of the pain in her body, Krista looked at Lin Yan's side. There are too many Titans. Even though the hunter group has tried their best, there are still titans passing towards Li Yan. Seeing a titan passing by, Krista yelled worriedly and signaled Mikasa to leave her alone. Break. Mikasa didn't speak, she put Krista down, and then shot towards Lin Yan. Like her, the members of the hunter group who saw this scene all rushed over. City. Gate. As some titans in the front continued to break free, the boulder moved a little slower. But there are only the last 10 meters left. Lin Yan turned his head and saw the members of the hunter group who had shown signs of decline. Lin Yan knew that she couldn't wait any longer. He jumped off the boulder and ran towards the direction of the hunter group. City. Wall. After crying, everyone who saw Lin Yan's plan succeeded again calmed down. They opened their eyes wide and calmly, watching the boulder approaching little by little, and everyone became more and more nervous. What is Captain Lin Yan doing? The back of Lin Yan charging towards the hunter group, people naturally saw it. Just when they were puzzled, Lin Yan, who had rushed hundreds of meters, turned around and began to accelerate towards the boulder. Boom 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 boom. Lin Yan's legs seemed to be trampling through the ground. Every step would leave a deep hole in the ground. As Lin Yan accelerated, everyone's eyes still couldn't see Lin Yan's figure clearly. In just 2 or 3 seconds, Lin Yan had already covered a distance of hundreds of meters. His feet kicked heavily towards the boulder like cannonballs. Boom. Before everyone could react, a huge crash resounded throughout the city of Saganina. Immediately, the entire city wall was shaken. A large amount of dust and smoke diffused from the gate of the city, and countless layers of gravel shot out from the smoke. The smoke dissipated for a long time, a boulder as high as a mountain. With Lin Yan's kick and Titan's pull, the distance of 10 meters instantly became 0. Mosaic into the walls to buy. There was an eerie silence on the city wall, and the sudden victory made 200,000 people feel unreal. No one dared to speak, and everyone was afraid that what was in front of them was a dream. Because in their dreams, such scenes have appeared again and again. Win. Win. We finally won. We don't have to die, we don't have to die. There was a full 10 seconds of silence, and then deafening cheers erupted from the city gate. 200,000 people roared frantically at the city gate, venting their anger. Born out of despair, witnessing miracles out of the impossible. This made the emotions of 200,000 people directly out of control. Pixie stands on the wall. The old man burst into tears, choking with sobs. He didn't cry when his own comrades were eaten by titans. When he returned to the city and was questioned by the soldiers' families, he didn't cry. In countless sleepless despair, he did not cry. But at this moment, after seeing humans finally defeated the titan once, the 4 Sith cried. The cry was louder than anyone else, and he was crying like a child in his old age. 50 years, a full 50 years, he finally waited until this day. Outside the city, the civilians who were being chased by the titan also heard the sound of the boulder hitting the gate of the city. Then I heard cheers erupting from the city wall. As the guiding force, they know, his family members were rescued by 157 people. In the city, Survey Corps has only 5 people left. At the moment when Lin Yan completely blocked the city gate, the Survey Corps who attacked the titan again and covered Lin Yan withdrew from the battlefield. As long as the outer city is blocked, the remaining titans will be wiped out sooner or later. Captain, we have won. Yeah, that man did it. No shouting like those civilians in the city. Nor did he cry bitterly like Pixis. Erwin saw that there were only 4 teammates left around him, and he was not happy at all. His whole face contorted in pain. More than 60 people were brought out by him, but only 5 survived in the end. 10 does not save 1. Erwin couldn't help feeling deeply guilty. As the leader of the Survey Corps, he failed to keep his teammates alive. But dead and wounded. This is a colossal failure for a leader. Erwin couldn't help but look in the direction of the hunter group who also withdrew from the battle. Big brother, we did it. Mikasa looked at the boulder inlaid with the entrance and exit in the distance, and she looked at Lin Yan on the side. They fought too hard in this battle. Several times Mikasa felt that they were going to lose this time. But under the leadership of Lin Yan, they overcame difficulties again and finally won. Yeah, we did. Hear Mikasa's words. Lin Yan looked around, his tone still extremely flat. Although the hunter group did not die this time. But except for Levi, Mikasa, Fran, Isabel and others, most of them were more or less injured. Krista was seriously injured. Another miracle? Annie stood behind Lin Yan, and she looked at Lin Yan's tall back with extremely complicated emotions. The hole in wall Maria was made by her, Reiner Brown, and Bertolt Hoover to get into the world inside the wall. But now it is blocked again. Lin Yan's last kick, in Annie's opinion, was for her who was not good at strength. Even if she transforms into the female titan, she can only barely do it. So now Annie's feelings for Lin Yan, in addition to closeness and admiration, have added awe and fear. Standing in front of Lin Yan, even with the power of a female titan, Annie also has a feeling that now Lin Yan wants to kill her. It's easy. 2 days later. King Capital. After September is about to enter, the weather is slowly getting cooler. There was a light rain in the sky. In the rain, the tall buildings in the city look like they are separated by a layer of tulle. The sparse pedestrians on the streets of Wangdu walked on the streets holding umbrellas. Go away, court death. A carriage decorated with unicorn standards shuttled quickly in the rain. The rampage did not mean to slow down in the slightest. A large amount of accumulated water was splashed out in all directions under the rolling of the carriage. Pedestrians on the road gave way one after another. A boy in a black robe was almost hit by a carriage. The groom's cursing voice went with the wind, which was extraordinarily harsh. The black-robed boy didn't seem to hear, he still ran forward quickly. Near the entrance of number 11, Wangdu Underground Street. This is the civilian gathering area of the royal capital. Benedict tuk-tuk on the silent street, knocking on the door with a strange rhythm rang. Soon a door opened at the most remote location, and the boy in black robe who knocked on the door entered the yard. The boss's carrier pigeon has arrived. This is the boss's plan of action. Having been dormant for 2 years, this time we must impress the boss. Inside the house. The air smelled of copious amounts of ink, and blank sheets of paper were piled up everywhere. A group of teenagers were under the dim kerosene lamp. Looking at the information in his hand, he was extremely excited. The central area of the capital. A carriage with a unicorn logo stopped in front of a solemn building. Parliament Hall. President Darius Zachary sat behind a raised platform as usual. The audience should have been full of MPs, it looks very empty today. Because of the rain. Many congressmen have a cold or a headache. Some councillors even lost their dogs. Darius has long been used to such sneaky rhetoric. Even this long overdue meeting has been delayed by 4 days. Commander Pixis in the south sent intelligence 4 days ago, and he decided to try another attack. Today's topic is whether to judge Wu Shixi for organizing an attack without authorization. Darius' words were still as mechanical as usual, and he couldn't hear the slightest emotion. I think that Pixis' behavior is a waste of the kingdom's limited resources. I agree that investing too much resources in occupied areas is simply a crime. The battle to recapture Wal Maria has long been a failure. He simply ignored the royal family by acting like this without authorization. He is extremely stupid. Hear what Darius said. Members of parliament supported by the royal family and nobles stood up one after another. Began to criticize what Pixie did. Pixis has been in charge of the southern garrison for these years. Every year, a large amount of supplies are taken from the empire and distributed to the soldiers of the corps. This directly led to a reduction in the share of materials allocated to many nobles. In addition, 2 years ago, Pixis sold a bottle of wine worth 500 gold coins at the banquet of the royal family. Many nobles in order to obtain the benefits of wine. The loss of being cheated by a businessman named Lin Yan was huge. They lost at least hundreds of thousands of gold coins. Therefore, Pixis, who was not welcomed by many nobles, was even more hated by the nobles. As a spokesperson for the nobility, whenever these congressmen have the opportunity to attack Pixis, they will choose to attack him. Boom. Just when everyone was arguing about how to punish Pixis for his actions, a man with a happy expression crashed in through the gate. Hearing the knock on the door, dozens of congressmen turned their heads to look at the door furiously. Their faces were extremely gloomy. It seems that if the other party does not give a satisfactory answer, they will kill the other party generally. A soldier in a light yellow uniform embellished with a unicorn emblem. Panting heavily with joy on his face, he looked at the people in the parliament hall and said excitedly, Maria Wal Maria is back. My lords, Commander Pixis, they have won. The soldier's words were like a powerful slap. It hit the faces of many congressmen who were clamoring to punish Pixis just now. Dozens of MPs, including President Darius, represent the interests of the nobility in the royal family. He froze in place blankly. How many are still alive? A member of parliament supported by the royal family took the lead in asking the soldiers before waiting for President Darius to speak. His eyes seemed to be eating people. The soldiers looked at the dozens of councillors who fell silent with gloomy faces in surprise. Shouldn't victory be a joy? Although the soldier had doubts in his heart, the soldier still didn't dare to ask more questions, and looked at the questioning congressman respectfully and replied. According to Commander Pixis, 200,000 people survived this time. Come on, arrest this nonsense fellow. In addition, everyone who knows the news must control me. The soldier had just finished speaking. The bald congressman spoke again, and his tone was slow as if he was the president. Many congressmen, including President Darris, have no dissatisfaction. They all nodded secretly, agreeing to Tung MP's words. Because many councillors understand that bald councillors are representatives of the king in the royal family. To some extent, his words represent the interests of the royal family. My lords, I'm not lying, my lords, before the soldiers made too many excuses. He was dragged down by the guard covering his mouth. The soldiers stopped abruptly in the empty conference hall with their voices of doubt. Everyone, this matter must be kept strictly confidential. Before King Freeze and the royal family have not issued an order, I don't want to hear about this matter spreading. Hearing the words of the bald councillor Hux, dozens of councillors nodded again and again. The interests involved in this matter are too great. If the 200,000 people are brought in, how should we deal with the things promised before? Immediately, a well-dressed, pot-bellied congressman stood up and responded. Senator Harkers is right. For such an important matter, our people should be sent to determine the accuracy. As for how long it can be confirmed, what do you guys think of a month? Hearing the words of this pot-bellied congressman, the eyes of the congressman represented by the nobles in the royal family lit up and they nodded repeatedly. And those members of parliament who have no strength and background, silently nodded in agreement, and did not dare to object at all. Inside Rose's wall, it was still raining lightly. On a huge training ground, a group of teenagers are training. This is the training ground for the training corps. Quicker, faster. Reiner Brown, Bertolt Hoover, did you two not eat? Training corps instructor Keith Shaddis stood on the high platform and loudly reprimanded the many trainers in the audience. Keith is the leader of the 12th Survey Corps. Because under his leadership, the Investigation Legion had suffered heavy deaths in many expeditions to build human strongholds. Keith resigns because of guilt. The Survey Corps was run by Erwin, who became an instructor in the Training Corps. In the arena are the trainees who have just entered the Training Corps not long ago. For this new class of members, Keith was a little worried. He didn't see too many talented members among the newcomers this time, they were basically mediocre and passable ones. I don't know, what happened to Erwin and the others? I heard that there is a guy named Lin Yan who seems to be very strong this time. Keith frowned slightly. Every time the Survey Corps went out, it was always accompanied by death and failure. It was in such failures, Keith's inner courage was taken away a little bit. In the end, I completely lost the courage to lead Survey Corps again. The last time he had a small gathering with Erwin, he met a person named Lin Yan. Erwin's admiration for Lin Yan made Keith curious about Lin Yan. You must know that Erwin is a better leader than him. Although he is usually very humble, he is a very proud person in his bones. It is obvious that the person who can make Erwin highly respected is definitely not easy. On the training ground. After hearing Keith's words, Leon and Hoover, who were originally on the last side, followed quickly. That guy, is it exposed? I don't know, she didn't act according to the agreement. Leon, the successor of the Kaizitan, and Hoover, the successor of the Colossal Titan, ran while lowering their voices and talking in a low voice. The purpose of the three this time is to find the successor of Founding Titan. According to the original plan, the three agreed to join the Training Corps first, the two of them mixed into the Survey Corps, and Annie mixed into the Military Police Regiment. However, Annie did not appear in the agreed position as agreed by the three of them. Therefore, after joining the Training Corps, the two have been inquiring about Annie's news. But because they just entered the world inside the wall, they didn't have any relationship network at all, so they couldn't find any news about Annie. Outside Rose's wall, Sagansina district. After the gate of the outer city was blocked, it was because of the Titan of the strange species and the Titan of the great Emperor Wugo who ran out of the city. In addition, the few Wugo Titans left in the city were also killed, and the entire Zigenshinna district returned to calm. With the efforts of 200,000 people a day, the gates of the inner city were successfully repaired in one fell swoop. Therefore, at this moment, the Siganina district has been completely retaken by humans. On the street, a cauldron was erected. A large amount of supplies were gathered from various places in the city, under the command of the Hunter Group and Survey Corps. Everyone received the food in an orderly manner. Really survived. Yes, thanks to Master Lin Yan. After receiving the food, the civilians left in an orderly manner and sat on the side enjoying the food. Lin Yan's name appeared most often in their mouths. I don't know, what happened to those two guys? Annie was distributing food to the civilians. Looking at the many civilians in front of her, she thought of the country of Mere, the Aldea concentration camp. I thought of the two partners who came to the paradise like myself. How do I choose between them, if they appear? Seeing Lin Yan approaching from a distance, Annie frowned on her beautiful face. The longer she stays in the Hunter Group, the heavier the weight of the hunter group in Annie's heart. After entering September, the temperature dropped down. Without the scorching heat before, it seems that the sun has become gentle. The soft sunlight spreads over everything like a golden veil. Sagansina City. 1 year after humans left, the streets and alleys of this important southern city were occupied by colorful weeds and flowers. If it weren't for the Great War a few days ago, presumably such a strange scene in the desolate city would have been more complete. The cool autumn wind gently blows the golden street trees on both sides of the street. The golden yellow leaves that fall from time to time slide down slowly from the tree, slowly spinning in the air. A golden leaf fluttered in the wind. Before it fell to the ground, it was caught by a white hand. "Boss, do you still remember the road in the underground mall?" Isabel gently held the blade in her hand, and she raised her head to look at Lin Yan, who was just at the height of Lin Yan's shoulder. Lin Yan opened a bistro on this street a year ago, and Isabel came to accompany Lin Yan to go home with her every day. It seems that the two have known each other for almost 10 years. To some extent, it is not an exaggeration to say that the two are childhood sweethearts. Isabel was wearing a long golden dress, which was more like a combat uniform. 1 point less heroic, 4 or 5 points more gentle. Because of fighting, Isabel never had the chance to wear the dress that Lin Yan gave her. "Of course I remember, you were only this tall at that time." Hearing Isabel's words, Lin Yan made a gesture and recalled lightly. "Boss, go back and accompany me to the underground shopping mall this time, okay?" "Okay, we'll go back together then." Although I don't know why Isabel went back to the underground shopping mall. But Lin Yan can't satisfy Isabel's small request. Speaking of which, Lin Yan will also be leaving for the capital in the next 2 days. The reason why she stayed in Saganina was just because she had to take a break. After all, after such a long battle, everyone's mental and physical strength have been greatly overdrawn. At night. A rare starry night. Without the suppression of the moon, every star looks brighter than before. After a year of darkness in the Saganina district, once again the lights of man were able to dispel the darkness at night. The entire city, with gentle lights, resembles a group of fireflies dancing in the night sky. Turn the ruined Sagansina into a paradise. Those were some civilians who escaped from Ziganshina district before, and after returning home, they lit up the lights of their own homes. Creak. With the sound of opening the door, a tall figure entered a wooden building. "Lin Yan, big brother. Why are you here?" Star was lying in bed with his injuries. Seeing Lin Yan coming in, she just wanted to straighten up. Lin Yan put his hand on her forehead, signaling her not to get up. "Let's see how your injury is doing." Seeing that Krista's face looked better than before, Lin Yan withdrew his hand. "Lin Yan, big brother, can I help you as a queen?" Krista watched Lin Yan tidy the quilt for her, and her heart was instantly filled with a deep sense of happiness. It was such a subtle detail, she had never felt it in her own family. Hearing Krista's words, Lin Yan turned to look at Krista. "Didn't you hesitate before? As long as it can help Lin Yan, big brother, I am willing to do anything." Krista met Lin Yan's gaze. She hesitated before because she was afraid that she could not do well. But now Krista figured it out. As long as Lin Yan is by her side, she is fearless. Hearing Krista's words, Lin Yan nodded. Seeing that Krista was fine, Lin Yan was just about to leave when he heard Krista's timid voice. "Lin Yan, big brother, can you take me to see the stars?" As soon as Krista said it, she regretted it a little. Suddenly, he felt that his request was a little too unreasonable, so he hurriedly added. "I haven't gone out for a long time. If it doesn't work this time, next time." "Ah. Just this time. Let's make no exception." Lin Yan frowned, then picked up Krista and jumped out of the window, onto the tower in the distance. Being hugged by Lin Yan, Krista blushed to the base of her neck, felt the wind whistling beside her ears, she almost cried out. On the tower. The sky is full of stars, and the earth is full of fireworks. It would be nice if it kept going like this. If possible, Krista hopes to be hugged by Lin Yan all the time. Time flies. After one night, the cold air from the north completely enveloped the devastated Sagantina by the building. There are no ruins to be seen at all. After 3 days of rest, the exhausted people seemed to be revived. Everyone seemed to be in high spirits, with a rebirth-like joy on their faces. "Big brother, I want to ride a horse with you." Just as Lin Yan was riding on horseback, Mikasa ran over from a distance. Her face was a little puffy. Yesterday Mikasa was on duty and saw Lin Yan jumping up the tower with Krista in his arms. "When I think of my favorite big brother, I just watched the stars with Krista for so long." Mikasa was a little angry, but Mikasa had just decided to reconcile with Krista, who was still angry before. But now she decided not to speak to Krista again in another 3 months. No more horses? Why are you so angry? You are being bullied. Before Lin Yan finished speaking, Mikasa jumped up and rode on Lin Yan's back. Mikasa was silent for a while, and then said hesitantly with a blushing face. My horse yielded to Krista. Oh, when will Mikasa lie too? Lin Yan raised his whip and rode forward on the horse. He smiled faintly. Where can the injured Krista ride a horse? Mikasa likes to be jealous, Lin Yan naturally knows. Hearing Lin Yan's words, Mikasa's blushing face turned even redder. However, seeing that Lin Yan had already urged the horses, he didn't say anything more. A sweet smile appeared on Mikasa's originally puffy face. Smelly Krista, I'm riding with my big brother. Riding through the fog with Lin Yan, Mikasa turned to look in the direction of Krista's horse in the convoy. Although Mikasa and Krista often have some minor tensions because of Lin Yan, their relationship is very good. Since they met on the farm in the north, the two have been almost inseparable. One day later. This time, it was because most of the civilians stayed in Siganina. Lin Yan and his group traveled much faster than when they came here before. Everyone returned to the pioneering area inside Rose's wall again. Pixis and Erwin went directly to the capital. I want to use the victory of this war to seek the support of the kingdom's civil war faction. In a valley. Here is a river valley plain, and there are fields that have been opened up here and there between several hills. But at this moment, the crops in the field have already been harvested. Iran. Why haven't the captains come back yet? According to the logistics team, the head and the others will arrive soon. Iran and Alman stood on the side of the road, looking intently at the intersection in the distance, thinking about their feet. His face was full of anticipation and anxiety. Except for them, all the newcomers of the hunter group stood by the roadside waiting for Lin Yan's return. After hearing the news that the hunter group took back Wal Maria. For the two who have lived in the Siganina area since childhood. At this moment, the admiration for Lin Yan has reached the point where it cannot be increased. So when they heard the news that Lin Yan was coming back, they waited at the intersection before dawn. Is back, the leader is back. Suddenly everyone in the crowd became excited. In the distance, Lin Yan galloped forward, leading the hunter group to gallop from afar. In the wilderness of Yima Pingchuan, a long curtain of dust and smoke was pulled out. Looking at the core members of the hunter group who quickly entered the valley, Iran and Alman glanced at each other. Then he expressed his thoughts very tacitly and resolutely. I'm going to be like the leader. Me too. One day later. King Capital. Inside Sheena's wall. Pixie sat with Erwin and Keith in a hidden attic. What are they trying to do? Do you also need to doubt the words of the head of the Survey Corps and the Supreme Commander of the Southern Garrison Corps? No. I'm going to see the king now. I want to ask him what he means. After hearing what happened to Pixie and Erwin today, Keith became excited. He was extremely dissatisfied with the actions of the parliament and the royal family. Obviously, he should be called a hero, but a person who is admired by all people is subject to suspicion. Seeing that Keith drew his gun excitedly and was about to go out, Erwin stopped him. They are delaying time. The more people survive, the heavier their losses will be. For this matter, we and Lin Yan already have a plan to deal with it, you just need to cooperate with us. Hearing Erwin suppress his anger, Keith put away his gun unwillingly. He was extremely disappointed with the royal family and nobles. Keith also knew about the 3-year tax exemption and half of the property. At the beginning, the royal family and nobles wanted to persuade more people to participate in this recapture battle. There was a lot of publicity throughout the kingdom, so the story was already well known. But what Keith didn't expect was that the nobles in the royal family actually wanted to reduce their losses by delaying the death of more people. Not to mention a month, I am afraid that 200,000 people outside the city will die in half a month. Occupied by the Titan for a year, the outside of the wall has long been turned into a barren land. There was no food to be found at all. In any case, I am on the side of justice. You need me to cooperate with you, just say it. Hearing Keith's words, Pixie and Erwin nodded, and began to reveal part of the plan to Keith. For the sake of confidentiality, the two acted strictly according to the precautions that Lin Yan had explained before. There is absolutely no mention of replacing the royal family. After all, replacing the royal family, such a thing is too shocking. If the determination of the two to replace the royal family and nobles was only 80%. Then after returning to the royal capital, seeing how the royal family and nobles treated this victory, their determination became 100%. For the first time, Pixis realized that his hard work for so many years was worthless in the hearts of this group of people. They only have interests in their eyes, only themselves. When he arrived, he also discussed with Lin Yan the attitude of the nobles in the royal family towards this matter. At the beginning, Lin Yan suggested that the royal family and nobles are very likely to use delay to consume the population. Pixie still thinks it is unlikely. After all, the death of hundreds of thousands of people is not that simple. But when Pixis returned to the capital, the situation was even more outrageous than Lin Yan expected. The royal family not only delayed the time, but also delayed for a full month. Soon Keith left quickly after listening to what Pixie and Erwin had asked for. Seeing Keith leave, Erwin got up and looked around to make sure no one was eavesdropping or anything. He returned to Pixis again. Erwin tightly held the handle of the knife with one hand, his veins bulging, and his lowered voice was full of murderous intent. Lin Yan is right. These people have reached the point of insanity. I still had a little bit of fantasy before. Is this our royal family? Hearing Erwin's words and feeling Erwin's monstrous anger, Pixie felt the same way. This time the Survey Corps was nearly wiped out. But not only was there no reward at all, and even the results that can be confirmed clearly in one day have to be delayed again and again. After taking a sip of the wine, Pixis pondered for a moment, patted Erwin on the shoulder, then stood up and said in a deep voice. No matter how angry we are at 300 now, we must suppress it. When we see Lin Yan, we will discuss the next plan. Hearing Pixis' words, the pain in Erwin's eyes flashed away. Almost in an instant, he became the leader who planned strategies and calmed down. Erwin remembered what Lin Yan said at the beginning, the next grain harvest will be 1 year away. He didn't pay attention to this sentence before, but now Erwin remembered it. But I can't help but marvel at Lin Yan's ability to quickly grasp the essence of things. It's September and the summer harvest is long over. Even the batch of grain grown in the pioneering area has been gathered in the hands of the nobles in the royal family. There is still 1 year to wait until the next grain harvest. If the nobles in the royal family accepted the refugees, they would not only need to provide food for 200,000 people for a year. And most importantly, 3 years of tax exemption. This means that the nobles in the royal family cannot receive any tax for 3 years. Then, these 200,000 people are a complete burden to the royal family. If this group of people died, not only would they not have to feed so many people, but they would also be able to get 200,000 soldiers. This time it was in the best interests of the nobility in the royal family. Thinking of this, Erwin couldn't help being surprised by Lin Yan's judgment again. Erwin stood up and looked at Pixis standing by the window, his tone was slightly sour. Do you think this guy is really so smart since he was a child? This may be the difference between geniuses and ordinary people. Hearing Erwin's words, Pixie smiled slightly. He didn't expect to be called the most capable successor to the Survey Corps ever. To be so jealous of Lin Yan's intelligence like a child. But Pixie can also understand. After all, every genius can recognize only geniuses. Although Erwin's own combat power is not very strong. But his meticulous thinking and outstanding leadership skills are enough to be called a genius. However, in front of Lin Yan, Erwin seemed a little pale. Compared to before, because of Lin Yan's influence, I feel a little less confident. Speaking of which, that guy is indeed a monster. As for Lin Yan's life experience, Pixis and Erwin naturally investigated it several times. Otherwise, they would not rush to cooperate with Lin Yan. Erwin's words reminded Pixis of everything Lin Yan had done these years. Every time he meets Lin Yan will appear in front of him with a brand new look. Surprising every time. In the process of investigating Lin Yan's life experience, Pixie learned that Lin Yan was actually an orphan, and he was also an orphan in the underground street. How chaotic it was, Pixis naturally knew. Lin Yan has been famous in the underground street since he was 8 years old. When I was 16, I had a shop in the underground shopping mall. Later, because of the wine, Lin Yan arranged to sell the inventory at a low price, and announced the brewing process of the wine. As a result, the nobles who hoarded wine lost their fortunes. Afterwards, Lin Yan even transferred the property ahead of time, and did not leave half a gold coin to the nobles. Later, he disappeared unscathed in the roundup of military police regiment and Survey Corps for nearly 2 years. When it reappeared, it not only possessed a huge farm, but also started hunting titans outside the walls. After that, there is this recapture battle. In one fell swoop, he led the crowd in the siege of thousands of titans, created a miracle, and successfully recaptured Wal Maria. Let the 1/3 of the kingdom's lost land be returned to human hands. It even saved nearly 1/5 of the kingdom's population. In this battle alone, Lin Yan is said to be the one with the most outstanding achievements since the existence of the kingdom, except for the first king who built the city wall. There is no exaggeration at all. This is why Pixis, as the supreme commander of the southern region, the root cause of following Lin Yan willingly to carry out this project. Lin Yan has proved his importance to mankind with his actions. Proved by merit, he is a qualified leader. Just as Erwin and the two were waiting for Lin Yan to arrive. At the number 11 passageway of Wangdu Underground Street, several carriages entered the underground street one after another. Inside a castle. The members of the Hunter Group returned to the place where the Hunter Group used to live. This stronghold was seized after Lin Yan and his group left, but it was later bought back by Lin Yan. The castle in the underground street is not worth much at all. But for Lin Yan, it's not just a castle. This is where he grew up and lived. Looking at the clean castle in the castle, which was taken care of by the people who stayed behind in the royal capital, Fran couldn't help sighing. I didn't expect that we would come back so soon. I still remember the incident when you were beaten up by those gangsters. Hearing Fran's exclamation, Lin Yan remembered when they just moved here. A guy whose name he can't remember robbed Levi, Fran and Holland of the wheat thing. The three of them were beaten badly that day. That is, from that time on. Lin Yan led the crowd to fight all the way out from the underground street. Hearing Lin Yan's words, Li Wei, Fran and Huo Lin blushed. That was the only time they were bullied, but then those guys were wiped out under Lin Yan's leadership. A young man wearing military police regiment uniform came in from outside. After saluting, Fang Lin Yan respectfully reported the news. Boss, Pixis and the others entered the parliament today and had a fight with those members. The young man is a member of the Hunter Group that Lin Yan paid some money to send to the military police regiment as an undercover agent. There are 4 more people like this in the military police regiment. You go down first, and report to me when you have news. To be honest, although Pixis and Erwin have verbally agreed to participate in this royal seizure plan. But Lin Yan still didn't dare to entrust all his wealth in the mouths of 2 empty-handed people. So Lin Yan did not choose to enter the capital with the 2 of them. Instead, send someone to follow up to further determine whether the 2 of them really have the sincerity to cooperate with him. Boss, we have prepared those things according to your requirements. Not long after Lin Yan sat down, another person came to report to Lin Yan. This time it was a boy in a black robe. This is the member of Wangdu who is responsible for delivering the news, and it is also Lin Yan who left behind when he left Wangdu. It's a good job. When it's dawn, the plan can start. Lin Yan nodded appreciatively and gave the black-robed boy a positive evaluation. Guaranteed to complete the mission. Hearing Lin Yan's words, the boy in black robe saluted Lin Yan excitedly, and then left quickly. For them, Lin Yan's affirmation is enough for these 2 years of perseverance. Give orders to everyone. While eating, Lin Yan began to think about the next plan. Judging from the current performance of Pixis and Erwin, the 2 can be trusted for the time being, and there is nothing unusual about them. It's not that Lin Yan is suspicious. If he hadn't paid more attention to everything when he was very young, he would probably have been killed before the system was awakened. No matter how powerful it is still necessary to be cautious. And up to now, Lin Yan has never really met Rod Rei Yi, the real ruler of the world inside the wall. This guy is well hidden. Although the power of the founding titan of Rod Rei's Yi family is in his subordinate Aren. But as the ruler inside the wall, Lin Yan has no idea how many hidden trump cards he still has. Therefore, before killing Rod Rei Yi, Lin Yan didn't intend to go out into the open. So Lin Yan's plan, there are 2 parts. The first part is to use this recapture war event to detonate the irreconcilable contradictions between the noble class and the civilian class. The second part is to find a way to force Rod Rei Yi to stand up as a minister. In this way, Lin Yan's plan to replace the royal family has only just begun. Outside the city gate of Rose's Wall, a large number of refugees lay on the ground because of hunger. There are pale, bloodless people everywhere. Dad, I'm so hungry, when can we go back? Hold on a little longer, the kingdom will soon open the gate and let us in. A man was carrying a little girl on his back, standing outside the city gate with more than 100,000 refugees who had driven back from Sagansina in despair. The man could tell that his daughter's voice was getting weaker and weaker. They have been here for more than 2 days, but the guards in the city refused to let them enter the city because they were still confirming the battle situation. Let us in, you bastards. Isn't 1 day enough to determine the outcome? It's clearly a deliberate obstruction. The royal family, the nobles, simply want us to starve to death. At the gate of the city, the refugees who came back from Wal Maria cursed weakly. Their hopeful return of glory. Not only is there no welcome from compatriots, or even a bowl of gruel. Some are just cold in closed city gates. There are also deadpan soldiers on the city wall who don't pay any attention to them. From full of hope and longing to despair, they only took 1 day. At the moment when they were refused to enter the city gate, hundreds of thousands of people had completely given up on this country. The victory they exchanged with blood and death, as well as the lives of their families, is worthless in the eyes of the ruler. Royal capital, central area. Inside a castle is bright as day. There are vast and gorgeous dark red gold thread carpets, huge crystal chandeliers, and white candles with dancing flames all over the castle. In the extravagant and lazy music, there are wanton and indulgent laughter, as well as charming smiles from time to time. The smell of food is mixed with the smell of various perfumes and sweat. Dozens of wealthy aristocrats dressed as high-class people and celebrities with heavy makeup are holding a private ball, and all those who can participate in this ball are rich or expensive without exception. It's really funny how Pixie is furious in front of adults today. It's just a countryman, and he still speaks for those common people. His mind is really sick. That's right, if you put those mudlegs in the country, wouldn't the land be ruined? A rich balding man all around. People kept coming over with glasses of wine, chatting a few words in an elegant way. Most of these people who came to the ball were members of parliament and nobles. In addition, they also have an identity that is conservatives. In the view of conservatives, all investigation and exploration of Titan should be stopped. That is a criminal waste of resources. It is best to be able to block all gates. A corner of the hall. The bald counselor Hux opened his mouth, and immediately a girl in cool clothes put a crystal grape into his mouth. Hux looked around and saw the tone of many congressmen who had gathered became serious. This time the matter is important, we must block the good news. Don't worry, my lord, whoever dares to discuss this matter, the Corps will not hesitate to put him in prison. As soon as Hux finished speaking, a person in charge of the military police regiment immediately patted his chest to assure Hux. Hearing what the person in charge of the military police regiment said, Hux nodded in satisfaction. Although this time they relied on being at the home court of the capital, they overwhelmed the main battle faction headed by Pixis and others. But Hux did not lose his mind because of this. Public opinion and people's hearts are also very important to them. The reason why they dare to do this time. It is because the fishing boats of the entire kingdom are in the hands of the nobles in the royal family. As long as they want to block the news, no one can spread the news. For this point, they who control most of the army are extremely confident. Manipulating the fishing boat and mobilizing the emotions of the civilians, they don't know how many times they have done such things. The last time hundreds of thousands of people were fooled out of the city was because of their secret manipulation. For them, civilians are dogs on a chain, even if they are off the chain for a while. As long as the dog is hungry, it will always come back. That guy, doesn't he know what a third of the land represents? Hux remembered today's confrontation with the main battle Pixis. Although from the beginning to the end, Pixis scolded a group of them bloody. But when it came to the final vote, they still won with the most votes. Because most of the main fighters also voted for them. Thinking of the last, Pixis and Erwin left with gloomy faces, Hux couldn't help but want to laugh. Except for some of the civilians in the main combat faction, most of them are also nobles. This time, because Walmaria was taken back, many nobles had a chance to share the cake. 1/3 of the land, if all the civilians die, then it will be theirs. Faced with such a big temptation, who cannot be tempted? So even many main combat factions usually fight against them. But under such interests, the old political enemies became teammates. The reason why this ball is held is to celebrate the fact that the conservative faction is overwhelming the main combat faction in today's parliament. In addition, discuss how to block the news for a month, or even longer. After all, facing a titan that has never been defeated in 100 years. More than 200,000 people died in one battle, and it took several months, in exchange for a tragic victory. Compared with the death of tens of thousands of people, and the victory in less than 10 days, it sounds more reasonable. Thinking of this, Hux couldn't help but feel satisfied with his ingenuity. Although he is the spokesperson of the royal family, he is fascinated by this feeling of manipulating people's hearts. He had already asked the king for instructions, but the king seemed to be struggling with some things, and he didn't care about the deaths of the commoners at all. In other words, Wang is more inclined to their conservatives. King capital. It's daybreak. The rainy weather of the past few days has disappeared without a trace. The sky is like blue washing, blue, and there is no trace of cloud. Needless to say, it was a great day. Wang Wang. When it was daylight, a sleepy dog opened its sleepy eyes. Feeling the need to urinate, it ran out of the yard and squeezed out through the crack of the door. A newspaper full of words, when the dog squeezed out, fell from the door. In the early morning wind, newspapers all over the sky were blowing with the wind. The dog in urgency ran very fast, it shuttled among the newspapers fluttering in the wind, and pedestrians around it kept picking up the newspapers on the ground or on the door. If a dog can understand human speech, then what it hears is probably like this. What? Wall Maria has been taken back. The royal family and nobles, in order to compete for interests, deliberately blocked the news. Their purpose is to starve the compatriots outside the city to death, so as to push back the original promise. The dog is still running, it crosses one street and another. One after another human beings looked at the newspaper, exclaiming and angry. In its ears, all kinds of angry voices almost turned the world upside down. Comparable. The dog stopped, and it found the place where it used to pee. Suddenly, it doesn't want to go back. Wanting to endure the beatings of the master every day, it wants to give it a try and go out. The dog was very old, and before he died, he didn't want to die in the pot. On the street, several black-robed teenagers have already started to retreat, and their mission has been completed. After a week of non-stop printing, hundreds of thousands of newspapers were printed under their hands. Not only the capital, but all the cities in the entire kingdom, their companions appeared. Ermiha District, Toriste District, Storges District, Kalanis District, Yalu Kailu District, Kailualuba District. Alfred, Utbia. Centering on the royal capital, radiating from the wall of Sheena to Wall Maria, Lin Yan's intelligence personnel appeared in all human cities except for the Saganshina area that was captured by the Titan before. The newspaper printing process also exists in the world inside the wall, but it is not very mature. When Lin Yan was idle in the north, under his guidance, the people in the logistics department had already made revolutionary changes to the printing process. For 2 years, the back office has been kept alive by the existence of the tabloid. Until this time, Lin Yan decided to start the plan. Only then did the intelligence personnel of the Hunter Group's logistics team spread all over the kingdom take action. Distribute the transported newspapers all over the world. Dormant for 2 years. Hundreds of support staff finally waited for the time to contribute their own strength to Lin Yan. For 10 years, they were brought up by Lin Yan from orphans one by one, although many of them are not good at fighting and have no talent for fighting. However, their ability in business and intelligence collection can be called a hero. Even under the guidance of Lin Yan, there is no problem in being called the top of the world inside the wall. Troost, open the city gates and let our families go home. You lackeys, I will fight with you. Kill them, kill these vicious exploiters. People in the tourist district who read the newspaper in the early morning exploded directly. The Trotes area was the starting point of this recapture battle, and most of the people here were related to those who participated in the expedition. Many people's family members went out because they heard about the promises made by the royal family and nobles, and they went out to find a way out for their families. But now their family members are just outside the city. But it was blocked by the tall city gate, unable to enter the city. There is a wall, which makes these civilians not angry. Through the newspapers they knew the real nature of the recapture war, reducing the population. The scandals of the royal family and nobles were instantly unfolded in front of them. Originally, this alone was enough to exhaust the loyalty of the civilians in the world inside the wall to the nobility and the royal family. But the royal family wanted to starve their family members to death for profit. This made the people who had lost their loyalty to the royal family and the nobles completely loathe and hate the nobles in the royal family. The seeds of hatred took root in their hearts. Ermiha District, Storges District, Kalanis District, Yalu Kairu District, Kailualuba District, Alfred District, Utebia District, etc. all started to riot. Just one morning. The conflict between the oppressed and breathless people of the world inside the wall, the nobles in the royal family broke out to the peak. It has almost reached the level of civil strife. If someone climbs up and shouts, maybe they can pull up a revolutionary army. However, there was always a group of young men in black robes guiding them secretly. Keep this conflict within a relatively controllable range. King Capital. President Darius Zachary comes out, we want an explanation. Human beings won for the first time, but the nobles in the royal family took advantage of the results. We refuse to accept it. Darius stepped down, we want to see the king. Down, down, down. It wasn't long before Wangdu's sky had just dawned. A large number of people took to the streets, heading towards the central area of the capital to encircle the dragon. There were only a few thousand people in the procession that just started, and they slowly moved forward with the procession. On the streets and alleys, the crowds gathered more and more. As they got closer and closer to the central area, the number of people changed from a few thousand to tens of thousands, and from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands. The civilians in the entire royal capital came out of their homes. Soon the central area of the capital was completely surrounded. Just from the sound, one can hear the extent of the anger of these people. Parliament Hall. The sound of anger and smashing things has not stopped for a long time in the hall. Exactly who leaked the news? Does everyone in the military police regiment eat poop? More than 100,000 people are blocking the door. Look at my face. The hysterical Harris slapped his plump hands on the table excitedly. At this moment, where does he still have the elegance and calmness of last night? He, who called himself a gentleman, turned into a shrew who scolded the street, and also looked like a gorilla jumping up and down. The chair in Harris's hand had been smashed to pieces by him, and the only hair left on his bald head was full of stench. It was the foul-smelling liquid splashed on his carriage as it passed through an alley. Harris swore that if he caught those dung-splashing boys in black robes, he would cut them to pieces. As the spokesperson of the royal family, as a nobleman, he has never suffered such an insult. In a corner of the conference hall, President Darius sat quietly. Hearing the voice outside the door asking him to step down, and Harris's crazy yelling in the conference hall, a faint smile appeared on Darius' face. As a puppet for many years, he has long understood his value. That is to stand up and take the blame for the nobles in the royal family when the people are angry and when the kingdom makes wrong decisions. During the assassination by hostile forces, the Western royal family blocked the bullet. After the madness, Harris walked slowly towards Darius, who was sitting on the side, in front of a group of embarrassed congressmen with their heads down. Darius, I hope you know what to do next. Order, those people outside the city can no longer live. Hearing what Harris said, President Darius raised his head and stared at Harris firmly in his eyes. There was deep horror in his eyes. He did not expect the conservatives headed by Harris to be so crazy. Seeing the horror in Darius' eyes, Harris tightly grabbed President Darius by the collar, and he threatened beyond doubt. These untouchables must die. Think about your family if you're not doing well. I will take care of them everywhere for you, you hear me? Hearing Harris's hysterical threats, Inris's face revealed a trace of deep anger. Then he was quickly suppressed by him, thinking of his lovely daughter and virtuous wife. The courage he had just summoned was gone. The whole person seemed to be drained dry, and his eyes lost focus. This time, he not only has to take the blame, but also becomes the sinner who ordered the massacre of civilians outside the city who participated in the recapture war. Don't think about it. After he has done all this, he will be replaced by another president who claims to be righteous. The nobles can continue to enjoy the fruits of the war, or they can gain a good reputation for ousting corrupt leaders. Underground shopping mall, near number 11 passage. In an underground castle. The sun shining from the ground hits the underground castle. From a distance, it looks like a spotlight on the stage, illuminating the castle extremely brightly. Around the castle, in some hidden corners, some members of the hunter group were on guard secretly. Creak. There was a very slight sound of the door opening, and two little heads poked into a room through the crack of the door. Hearing the sound, Lin Yan slightly opened his eyes. At the door, Mikasa and Krista are secretly looking inside the door. The two of them ran into each other by accident at the stairs. Later, after finding out what the other party was here for, the two simply came outside Lin Yan's door together. After coming to the capital, Lin Yan gave everyone a 3-day vacation. The two really couldn't think of what to do, so they ran to Lin Yan and came to. The big brother seems to have not woken up yet. Stinky. Mikasa, keep your voice down. It would be bad if Lin Yan big brother found out. Got it. Krista. Mikasa and Krista got their heads stuck in the crack of the door, and their eyes were looking into Lin Yan's room. The two of them quarreled quietly from time to time. After Lin Yan realized that the people who came were Mikasa and Krista, his tense body relaxed. The corner of the mouth propped up an imperceptible arc. If it was a stranger, the ejected Lin Yan had already broken the opponent's neck. LV5's fighting technique brings not only simple fighting skills, but also a lot of fighting instincts. And the prediction of dangerous things, as well as the approximate prediction of the trajectory of objects. For so many years, everyone in the hunter group has not had a day off. Therefore, Lin Yan wanted to give everyone a chance to rest before the next big battle. This time things still need a little time to brew. How did you come to me? Let's ask Big Brother to eat. Mikasa and Krista were still looking in, when suddenly Lin Yan's voice sounded. The two people in Lin Yan's room who had been watching nervously almost jumped up in fright. Let's go and eat. Big Brother, I told you not to do this. That's right, every time he lifts his collar. Lin Yan came out of the room, holding Mikasa in one hand and Krista in the other. The two kicked their legs randomly in midair, protesting Lin Yan's rough behavior. In front of Lin Yan's tall figure, the two of them indeed looked too petite. In the hall, the smell of pine from last night's fire in the fireplace lingered in the air. The smell of heated milk and the smell of toast are mixed together. Isabel and Annie are methodically busy in the kitchen. Levi and Fran set out the tableware around the room. The movements of the two were very slow, not at all like the usual rush. For Levi and Fran, no matter how many titans he killed on the battlefield, how many praises he received from the people, there is nothing more enjoyable than having a meal with Lin Yan. Therefore, even when placing the plates, both of them deliberately slowed down. Levi and Fran enjoyed the process. Living in this cruel world, the two understand how hard such an ordinary life is. Are you two making trouble again? That's not right, Yinyan's big brother bullied us. Isabel saw Lin Yan coming down with Mikasa and Isabel. When she came out of the kitchen with the food, she couldn't help smiling. For these two girls who have watched them grow up since childhood, Isabel has always regarded them as his sisters. Annie followed behind Isabel with a plate. She was not used to wearing a skirt today. The last time she wore a skirt was when her mother was alive. She never wore them again after that. After inheriting the power of the female titan, she completely sealed herself off. Forget about being a girl completely. Coldness and indifference completely enveloped her. Sneak into my room next time. I'm about to kick it with my feet. While talking, Lin Yan put Mikasa and Krista on the chairs. Then he sat down on the chair that Levi had dragged out for him early in the morning. Soon, after Isabel and Annie brought the food to the table, everyone began to eat breakfast. This is for you. It's been a long time since I've eaten the meal cooked by the boss. Annie sat down between Isabel and Lin Yan and heard Isabel's words. Annie took the food from Isabel. In addition to being a core member of the hunter group, she is also Isabel's half-apprentice. In addition to training every day, I help Isabel to cook. If there is a chance, I will make a meal for you. Haha, the boss is a liar. It's been a year since the last time he said and did it. How can I not remember? Hearing Isabel's words, Lin Yan smiled and said to everyone. Everyone heard Lin Yan's words and started joking with him. As they got older, they no longer had the same fear of Lin Yan as they did in earlier years. When we are together, we occasionally joke with Lin Yan. Eating the food on her plate, Annie lowered her head as she watched everyone enjoying themselves. She was touched. She hadn't felt such a warm family atmosphere for a long time. Annie has never been a greedy person, so long as she is satisfied. But it's such a simple thing to be with her family, she can't get it. Clack clatter slowly, tears rolled down her eyes. Annie wanted to control, but found that she couldn't control it at all. Here, is the milk too spicy? Aha. Seeing Annie who was sitting beside him wiping tears secretly, Lin Yan brought her a silk cloth. Hearing what Lin Yan said, Annie hummed subconsciously. But he found that he had fallen into the trap in Lin Yan's words. The original sadness also completely disappeared because of Lin Yan's interruption. Soon the breakfast was over. Although it is a holiday, Lin Yan still needs to deal with the things that Lin Yan should deal with. Not long after I sat down, someone needs to come in and report the news. Boss, we have word from our people in the military police regiment. The nobles in the royal family decided to wipe out the civilians outside the city. Hearing Frank's report, even Lin Yan had expected that the royal family and nobles would not give in easily. But he didn't expect that the nobles in the royal family would be crazy to this extent. Print the news of the massacre in newspapers. Properly control the scale of the riots and collect information on conservatives. Lin Yan quickly made a decision, and he quickly issued an order. Not only will he move this time, but he will also take away the heads of those conservatives at once. After destroying the enemy's foundation, the next step is to destroy the enemy's body as well. Soon Fran left the underground street. He has always been a very efficient person. For Fran, taking a vacation is far less practical than doing things for Lin Yan. On the outskirts of the capital, inside the Survey Corps camp. While Erwin was still resting, he was woken up by his teammate Hange. You mean, the people have begun to besiege the nobles in the royal family? Since this morning, there have been newspapers like this all over the city. Because it was very late to discuss many things with Pixis, Erwin had just fallen asleep. After being woken up by Hange, he realized that the king's capital was completely turned upside down overnight. Originally, Pixis and him were still discussing how to break through the fishing blockade of the royal family and nobles. But it only took Lin Yan one night to completely turn the fishing boat to their side. Erwin was wearing his shoes while reading the newspaper, and said excitedly to Hange, who came to report. Go and fetch Commander Pixis. Forget it, I'll go there myself. Erwin hurriedly put on his shoes, and before Hange could walk out, Erwin changed his words. Seeing Erwin running out in a hurry without tying his shoelaces, Hange froze in place. It was the first time she had seen Erwin so flustered. Just as Erwin walked out of the camp, he ran into Pixie, who was walking towards him. Pixis was wearing a shirt, and when he saw Erwin running towards him with his shoes untied, he took a breath and asked. You heard that too? I'm curious how Lin Yan did it. Yes, the newspaper has always been in the hands of the nobles in the royal family. The two held a newspaper each, panting on the spot. Originally they were still waiting for Lin Yan's next plan, but Lin Yan made such a big commotion before seeing Lin Yan's face. It's not interesting for you too. For such a big matter, I will not disclose any news. Keith ran over on a horse from a distance, panting for breath while looking at the two excitedly. These years, the reason why their main combat faction has been defeated every time they go out of the city. It has always been disliked by domestic residents. Therefore, it has always been in a state of being suppressed. There are very few people who support them among the people. But this fishing boat battle not only exposed the ugliness of the nobles in the royal family to everyone, and the support of the garrison corps and survey corps also reached an unprecedented height. This time, Lin Yan is in charge. We didn't interfere at all. Pixis looked at Keith's expression, and he explained with a wry smile. Although he and Erwin hold important positions, they have no foundation in the capital. The king is the territory of the military police regiment, nobles and royal family. The two of them are simply difficult to intervene. But now it's different. There was Lin Yan who broke the blockade of news and fishing boats by the nobles in the royal family. Many things they couldn't do have become easier. What kind of person is Lin Yan? On the territory of the military police regiment, his people can come and go freely. Hearing that it was Lin Yan again, Keith's original curiosity became more intense. He had heard Lin Yan's name many times from Pixis and Erwin. But he never got to see Lin Yan. In the kingdom, there are 4 major corps. Military Police Regiment, Survey Corps, Garrison Corps, and Training Corps. Among them, the Military Police Regiment has the highest status and the largest number of people. In addition to being stationed in Wangdu, people from the Military Police Regiment are stationed in every other city. And the Military Police Regiment also has the right to mobilize the Garrison Corps. And the range of the capital. 80% of the Military Police Regiment is stationed in the capital. It is not a big problem to say that it is surrounded by Military Police Regiment. Therefore, Lin Yan was able to launch such a large fishing boat offensive on the territory of the Military Police Regiment. This is simply an incredible thing. When you meet him, you'll know what kind of man he is. I think Lin Yan probably has channels in the Military Police Regiment that we don't know about. Hearing Keith's words, Erwin called the two to sit down. The reason why they entered the capital this time has not made much progress. It is because they are always under the surveillance of the Military Police Regiment. If it weren't for the fact that this was the Survey Corps camp, both Pixie and Keith would be trusted by Erwin. He would never talk about this matter with the two of them here. Although the Military Police Regiment is extremely corrupt, it has concentrated the best talents in the entire kingdom. Therefore, it is not so easy to stir up wind and rain on the territory of the Military Police Regiment. Erwin thought for a long time, and he guessed that Lin Yan had hidden influence in Wangdu. It should also be arranged in the Military Police Regiment. Otherwise, it would be impossible to launch a protest with the participation of the whole city. Erwin knew how difficult it was. On the streets of Wangdu, the riots continued. From morning to now, the parade team is still besieged in the central area. Bang bang bang. On the street, members of the Military Police Regiment raised their guns and shot at the crowd. They are used to being domineering in the capital, and they have always been extremely tough on the people. Therefore, shooting such a thing directly is simply a common thing for them. Killed. Military Police Regiment killed. The nobles were furious, and the royal family bared their fangs. As the gunshots continued to sound, the civilians who had gathered were shot to death batch after batch. The civilians who had gathered in the central area began to disperse. A group of untouchables, the gangsters are willing to compromise before they are willing to compromise. Spread the news and say that what was said on the street before was a rumor. Our troops are already on their way to support civilians outside the city. Harris looked at the large number of civilian corpses in front of the Parliament Hall, and he turned his head to look at Neil Decker, the head of the Military Police Regiment. The people are the most forgetful. As long as they are given a little room for relaxation, they can breathe a sigh of relief. They lose motivation to move forward. For this, Harris is clear. As for the supporting soldiers, it was just an excuse to cover up their massacre of civilians. Soon after, the Military Police Regiment, who played the role of blackface, dispersed the surrounding civilians with forceful means. The red-faced MPS appear on a square in the central area of the capital. A large number of civilians gathered here, and they all got together because of this demonstration. Everyone be quiet. I am the official responsible for contacting you this time. The news this morning is purely a rumor. Military Police Regiment has already dispatched to support, and it will surely live up to expectations and take Saganina. The official was speaking on the stage, and soon everyone probably understood what the official meant. That is, the previous one was fake news. Now it is decided to send out as an elite military police regiment unit to support the civilians outside the city. Is what you said true? Of course, I swear on my life. Soon, some people began to waver because of the kingdom's voluntary acknowledgement of mistakes. Such a thing did not happen in one place in the square. Under the protection of the military police regiment, a large number of congressmen turned into lobbyists one by one, and they gave full play to their ability to fool. Start to fool the people. Wangdu Underground Street. Because it is noon. The sunlight on the ground is projected from the sewers to the ground. The beams of light are like turning spotlights on the stage, they are extraordinarily bright. The position where the beam of light is projected. The civilians in the underground street in 2s and 3s shined on the sun in the open space under the beam of light. For people in the underground street, whatever happens on the ground has no effect on them. Therefore, even the outside world has been turned upside down at this moment. But underground is still business as usual. Lin Yan and Annie are sitting on the threshold of an old house, which was Lin Yan's home in this world. The reason why Lin Yan came here, it's because of what Lin Yan and Annie said last time when they were at Sagana. He was coming to see this former home. Is this the place where the leader grew up? That's right, you used to have to pay to bask in the sun here. The first time I came to the underground street. Annie is absolutely stunning. She saw a more hopeless part of the world than Aldea. But the man beside her relied on his own strength to lead a group of people out of the underground street. It has given tens of hundreds of people a warm home. Especially these days, the warmth that Annie feels in the hunter group is almost the sum of the past 10 years. But the more so, the more guilty she felt. After hesitating for a long time, Annie frowned and finally said almost tremblingly. I have a secret. I want to tell the leader. Since it's a secret, there's no need to say it. Hearing Annie's words, Lin Yan was a little surprised. He didn't expect that since Annie would take the initiative to tell her secret. In fact, Lin Yan is not interested in Annie's secret. He knew what Annie wanted to say, so he didn't want to hear it. Annie stared blankly at Lin Yan. She never thought that Lin Yan didn't care about her secret at all. And she didn't know how long she struggled with this matter. It took almost all of her courage to tell her secret. After thinking about it, Annie said with some anxiety. But I lied to the captain. Then punish you for not having dinner. Hearing that Annie admitted to lying, Lin Yan looked at Annie softly. There is no indifference and coldness like before. Hear the punishment given by Lin Yan. Annie froze. Lin Yan's calmness made Annie feel for the first time that she was no different from ordinary people. No longer a demon everyone fears. Just when Annie was moved because of Lin Yan. Lin Yan looked into the distance, where Fran came over. Years of tacit understanding let Lin Yan know that Fran has something to ask him for advice. Just say it here. Soon Fran came over from a distance, looked at Annie and hesitated before him. Hearing Lin Yan's prompt, Fran no longer hesitated to report. Boss, those people in the Empire have responded. While appeasing the people, they sent people to prepare to intercept and kill those civilians. Soon Lin Yan knew the general situation. Almost without thinking, Lin Yan gave Fran an order. Let Levi take someone on a trip and put those civilians in. I'd like to see how they do it this time. In addition, let the logistics intelligence team finish the last thing and hide it. Fran left again. He has always been able to fulfill Lin Yan's orders perfectly. Apart from Levi, he is definitely Lin Yan's most capable assistant. Time flies. A day passed in a blink of an eye. The central area, which was originally besieged by a large number of civilians, also dispersed under the persuasion of the military police regiment and congressmen. In the originally empty square, because of the large number of civilians marching during the day, a lot of garbage and waste paper were left behind. This time the matter is finally suppressed. Go and find out who is behind the scenes. Without guidance, it is impossible for so many people to gather together. Harris stood with Neil Decker, head of the military police regiment. Both of them belong to the royal family, and both are conservatives, so their interests are the same. After being calculated by his opponent for a day, Harris finally had a chance to breathe. If it weren't for the tacit cooperation between him and everyone in the military police regiment this time, I am afraid there will be a factor. Is it possible that it's Erwin and Pixie? Neil Decker frowned when he heard what Harris said. From the perspective of gaining benefits, the biggest beneficiary of today's events is the main combat faction headed by Erwin and Pixis. On top of that, Nair has always had an adversarial relationship with Survey Corps Erwin. Therefore, both public and private, Tur felt that Erwin and his gang did this. Stop guessing. Do you think I'm as stupid as you? I have already sent someone to watch them to prevent them from making trouble. My people never saw them in action from the beginning to the end. Hearing Neil's words, Harris's tone was a little yin and yang. Calling the wind and calling the rain in the kingdom is not something that ordinary people can do. He has been fighting with those main fighters for decades, and has been suppressing the main fighters day by day. Relying on means that ordinary people cannot reach. So after getting Pixis and Erwin to win, how to deal with the two of them, Harris has already made a complete plan. If it weren't for the mysterious forces that suddenly appeared, Harris would be completely sure that the main battle group would be crushed to death. Thinking of this, he couldn't help showing a strong killing intent in his eyes. Harris thought of the group of boys in black robes who were throwing shit at him. If it wasn't for the fact that he was worried that he would be assassinated again if he sent the guards out, he would have been chased by someone long ago. It turns out that the adults have already made arrangements. I'm going to put everyone in the military police regiment on alert across the city. Hearing Harris's sarcasm, Nair dared not refute. He knew that this seemingly bald and obese guy in front of him was not simple. Over the years, manipulating fishing boats has suppressed the main fighters. Anyone who provoked him was almost killed by him. Except that he was tricked once by a man named Lin Yan when he partnered with the Duke of Kirby to hoard fine wine. Coupled with the fact that someone threw feces outside this morning. Nair has never seen Harris suffer. Erwin, do you think you can win this time? Riding on the horse, Neil thought of Erwin, who was actually a classmate of Erwin, strictly speaking, who woke up early. However, because of the completely different ideas of the two, they became completely hostile in the end. Thinking of Erwin's always strategizing, Neil couldn't help but sneered. It was slowly getting dark. After a noisy day, the capital returned to calm again. But in the eyes of many people, this is not calm, but the calm moment before the stormy waves appear. Survey Corps Camp. I finally know why Lin Yan didn't contact us. There are more people watching us just now. Erwin wrote a sentence on a piece of paper and then lit the paper. Pixis on one side fell silent after reading it. There's nothing they can do with being watched. Maybe we can do that. You mean that? The two talked on their lips and quickly understood each other's meaning. Inside Rose's wall, the location of the training corps. In a student dormitory, more than a dozen teenagers were lying on their own beds in a haphazard manner. After a day of training, most people are so tired they can barely move. Did you guys get Wal Maria back after all? Jean Kirkstein asked weakly, leaning on his hand. This morning they saw a large number of people gathering and marching. Later, through the newspapers they picked up, they knew that Saganshina of Wal Maria had been taken back. But at noon, military police regiment and officials came out to refute the rumors. So they are still not sure who to listen to. There are so many titans, how can it be so simple? I think it should be a rumor. Reiner Brown was lying on the bed. When he got the news in the morning, he was stunned. Those two walls were destroyed by them. Reiner wouldn't believe this ridiculous thing until he saw it with his own eyes. There are so many unscrupulous titans outside the wall, including him, Hoover, and Annie. The way they came here was full of difficulties. One of the original 4 companions was eaten. So he didn't believe it when he heard that a group of ordinary people took the wall back. Hearing Rainer's words, most people nodded in agreement. How terrifying Titan is, many people have seen it before. What if it's not a rumor? Then what a powerful force it is to be able to do it. Jean Kirkstein's voice sounded in everyone's ears again. Hearing Jean's words, Reiner and Hoover, who were lying on the bed, suddenly trembled. If it is true, then they are in danger this time. Do you want to go out and have a look? After thinking for a while, Reiner was a little bored, and he knew that what Jean said was not impossible. But if it's not the rumors, I'm afraid he and Hoover will have to be more careful in their future actions. Reiner couldn't imagine how to block the hole in Sagansina district with so many titans. He couldn't help but want to take a look to see if it was true or not, but he gave up after thinking about it. From the current point of view, finding the successor of the founding titan is the most important thing. As for the city wall, whether it has been repaired has nothing to do with them, and it has no effect on their current plans. Soon, everyone who had trained for a day fell asleep. Rose's wall. In the dark night, people from the military police regiment at the gate of the city are patrolling back and forth. As early as a few days ago, they received an order from the capital to guard the city gate and never let anyone in. Drink less, I will be patrolling the city wall later. What are you afraid of? There are no titans outside the city, just a bunch of mudlegs. 2 soldiers of the military police regiment walked slowly and feebly on the city wall. One soldier took out the wine, took a sip, and passed it to another. Before Wal Maria was taken back, they drank a little less. But after Wal Maria took it back, the drinking became casual for a few people. That's true, but I heard those guys in the city call a name called Lin Yan every day. I heard it too, and said that Captain Lin Yan will not let us off. I want to see how their leader Lin Yan doesn't let me go, haha. The two were smoking cigarettes and laughing wantonly. From their point of view, Lin Yan, a name they had never heard of before, had no place on the stage at all. Break. Break. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. While the two were talking, the sound of dense steel cables rubbing against metal suddenly sounded. When the two of them raised their guns in doubt to trace the source of the sound. In the dark night sky, two sharp knives cut out from the night before they could make a sound. Two people became 4 pieces of meat. Boss is also yours to comment on. Holding the knife in his hand, Levi rushed to the guard at the door again. He is the general manager of this operation. Everyone resolves the battle within 2 minutes. Hearing Levi's words, everyone in the first team not only accelerated a lot again. Everyone in the hunter group who can easily face the Titan. The battle has been worn away, like a waste military police regiment. For the hunter group, it is too easy. I don't know if I can catch up with the boss and cook by himself. The knife in Levi's hand was constantly waving. Almost every time he swung it, he could kill a person. Thinking of Lin Yan saying that he would cook for everyone, Levi couldn't help speeding up again. Underground street. Underground castle. A pine fire was burning in the fireplace. The flickering flames danced on the dry firewood. The warm breath is transmitted from the fireplace to the whole house. Lin Yan was reading a book under the soft light. Big brother. Why don't we just kill Harris, that guy, this time? He still has some effect now, but he is not far from death. Mikasa and Lin Yan were sitting in front of the fireplace. The night in the underground street was already a bit cold. Hearing Mikasa's words, Lin Yan was still reading the book. Talk about Harris, who has caused headaches for countless main fighters. Lin Yan still maintains a calm tone. Who is Harris? Lin Yan has long known through his members in the military police regiment. Is one of the spokespersons of Rod Rei Si. The reason why Harris is alive until now is entirely to draw out Rod Rei Si behind him. If you kill him, Rod Rei, who didn't know where he was hiding in the first place, probably wouldn't come out even more. Others don't know why Rod Rei Si has not shown up. But Lin Yan knew. After Eren's father became a Titan and ate Krista's cousin, the power of the royal family's founding Titan was lost. Without the power of founding Titan, Rod Rei Si became a shrinking turtle. He was very afraid that he would be wiped out too. So I've been hiding behind the scenes. Lin Yan has already figured out how to lure him out. At night. A pair of mung bean-sized eyes with green light floating around in the dark corridor. Da da da. The sound of footsteps came from a distance, very slow and heavy. A dim kerosene lamp was like the sun suddenly appearing in the dark night, instantly illuminating the dark corridor. Squeak squeak. The mouse ran away in a panic and disappeared in the aisle in the blink of an eye. Every time I encounter such a disgusting thing. Harris put his handkerchief to his nose. Obviously he did not like to walk this aisle. His speed is very slow. After walking out for a long time, he began to gasp for breath. After walking for an unknown amount of time, Harris stepped down in front of an iron gate. Tuck tuck tuck. The heavy knock on the door was particularly loud in the empty and long underground passage. Kakaka. About 7 or 8 seconds passed. A palm-sized hole was opened on the heavy door, revealing a pair of eyes from the hole. Harris leaned forward slightly, standing respectfully at the door of the thick iron gate. Just from the palm-sized hole in the iron gate, he could tell that the iron gate was at least 2 meters thick. In fact, it is more appropriate to say that it is a wall than an iron gate. How about the thing I asked you to investigate? A deep male voice came from the other side of Shao Kong, and the tone was full of majesty. It is said that a man named Lin Yan blocked the city gate. Hearing Rod Rei Si's words, Harris raised his head slightly to look at the pair of eyes in the small hole and replied respectfully. About a year ago, the meeting between Rod Rei Si and him became what it is now. Oh, how did he block it? Has the investigation been clear? Hearing Harris's words, Rod Rei Si's pupils shrank, and a murderous look could be seen faintly in his eyes. I heard from Pixie and Erwin that he seems to be able to turn into a Titan. Sensing the murderous intent coming from the other end of the hole, Harris's plump body couldn't help shaking. A thin layer of sweat appeared on his forehead in an instant. Harris remembered the scene where the king's younger brother turned into a Titan and almost killed Kenny Ackerman. Therefore, every time he met Rod Rei Si, he felt like he was having a dialogue with death. Turning into a Titan. Behind the huge iron wall, Rhodes was in a basement, and behind him were more than a dozen corridors leading to unknown directions. Hearing what Harris said, A trace of madness grew in the murderous look in Rod Reis's eyes. Harris saw Rhodes stop thinking, and he spoke again after a while. The civilians are very dissatisfied with our actions, and there will definitely be some trouble after the massacre. Before he could finish speaking, Rhodes interrupted his words. Needless to say, I don't care about the deaths of those civilians. I will find a way to collect information on Lin Yan. Through the news brought by Harris, Rhodes was 80% sure that Lin Yan possessed the power of Titan. And it is very likely that the royal family lost the power of the founding Titan. For Rhodes, the death of civilians has nothing to do with their family's rule. As long as he can regain the power of the founding Titan, no matter how chaotic the country is, he is sure to stabilize the situation. Therefore, the most urgent task is to find a way to control Lin Yan and regain the power of founding Titan. Hearing Rhodes' words, Harris was a little surprised, but it was also reasonable. When he first heard the name Lin Yan, he almost didn't jump up. Back then, it was Lin Yan who stole nearly half of his and Duke Kabi's family property. However, after getting the news from Pixis and Erwin, he sent people to start looking for Lin Yan's whereabouts, but unfortunately there is no news so far. After thinking for a while, Harris thought of another important thing, so he went on to say, Your Majesty, I also got news about Princess Historia from Erwin and the others. I heard it's in the hunter group formed by Lin Yan. Rhodes saw Harris, who was about to turn around and leave, stop again, and he looked away again. Hearing Harris's words, Rhodes' eyes lit up, and his tone was inexplicably excited. What did you say? Hysteria is alive. When the royal family knew that he had an illegitimate daughter. In order to erase the stain on the royal family, Kenny Ackerman was sent to hunt down Hysteria. He actually didn't care about the life or death of this illegitimate daughter. Therefore, after learning about this incident, he did not intervene too much. Only later, his family was eaten by the sudden appearance of the Titan, and now only he and Krista are left in the royal family, two bloodlines. To be honest, after hearing that Lin Yan could become a Titan, his first thought was to eat Lin Yan himself and regain the power of the founding Titan. But when he learned that his illegitimate daughter was still alive, he changed his mind in an instant. He wanted to live longer, so he decided to let his daughter eat Lin Yan and send back the power. Yes, I have confirmed with Erwin and Pixis. Pay attention to the whereabouts of Historia and Lin Yan, and report to me immediately if found. Soon, Rhodes made a decision, which he had read from Krista's mother's letter. Krista has always wanted to see her father. Rhodes is sure that he can persuade his daughter to fall to his side. Harris didn't stay long, and he left quickly after reporting the matter to Rhodes. The cold environment underground, as well as Rhodes' strange eyes, made him feel uncomfortable. Lin Yan. What was the relationship between that Titan and you back then? After Harris left, Rhodes fell into deep thought. In the dark night, in an alley in Wangdu, two figures entered a room. Finally got rid of those guys. It's not easy for Captain Lin Yan to meet you. Lin Yan, who was sitting on the table quietly reading a book, saw Erwin and Pixis coming in, and he motioned for them to sit down and talk. After planning for so long, the two of them have already done a lot of what they should do. Moreover, the performance of the two of them increased Lin K's trust in them a lot. I don't understand. Why does Captain Lin Yan want us to lie? Erwin sat down and took a few sips of tea before panting and looking at Lin Yan. During this period of time, he and Pixis, in addition to wandering around and tossing those military police regiment personnel. According to Lin Yan's plan, some news was passively disclosed to Harris. But Erwin didn't understand why Lin Yan asked them to change the method of blocking the door. Changed to Lin Yan and became a Titan and blocked the door. This matter, you will soon know why. Hearing Erwin's question, Lin Yan replied lightly. As he said, Lin Yan believes that it won't be long before the hidden guy will jump out. Lin Yan is looking forward to Rhodes mistaking himself for a Titan. In the end, he found that things were not as he thought, what kind of expression he should have. But this is only one of Lin Yan's plans. If Rhodes could be found in advance, Lin Yan would kill him without hesitation. Well, anyway, this time you are in charge. We will cooperate with you in your actions. Hearing Lin Yan's words, Erwin glanced at Pixis who was sitting on the side. Then nodded. The two have been with Lin Yan for so long, so they naturally understand some of Lin Yan's behavioral styles. When Lin Yan didn't want to talk, it was useless for them to ask. In addition, although Lin Yan sometimes has some practices that made them feel confused at first. But in hindsight it is often very wise. It's almost dawn. Pixis took a sip of his wine and turned to look out the window. A glimmer of light can already be seen faintly in the distance. Sitting in the same room with Lin Yan, Pixis felt a lot more at ease. After coming to the capital, the battle with the conservatives has always been at a disadvantage. This made the two people's original joy of returning home due to victory cast a thick layer of gloom. In addition, they lost sight of Lin Yan again, and they became more and more uncertain. Seeing Lin Yan appear again now, Pixie and Erwin fell to the ground with their hearts hanging. Yes, the darkness shrouded in the sky of the capital is about to be dispelled. Hearing what Pixie said, Erwin stood up and turned his head to look at Lin Yan, who was still quietly reading the book, and added. Erwin had a long-lost smile on his face. Outside the window, an old dog walked slowly in the dawn. Behind it was a group of pale-faced people who frantically picked up newspapers that appeared on the ground again. These are all members of the military police regiment. One day later, it is still a sunny day. The conference hall is empty compared to before, but now it looks full of people. All the MPs who were seriously ill and couldn't get out of bed, and who hadn't even been in Parliament for a year came. The Parliament hall was eerily quiet. Everyone's eyes were full of panic and despair. It's over, it's over. No one will trust us anymore. Harris slumped on the ground. Yesterday was the most desperate day in his life. Their plans have just begun. The military police regiment was sent off by many residents and was just about to go out of the city to implement a plan to support the country in name but actually to kill the country. As a result, before leaving the city, a large group of civilians walking back from outside the border came in front of them. Their plan was immediately debunked, just overnight. The newly recovered sliver of credibility of many congressmen and government officials was completely shattered. Facts speak louder than words. Things have developed to the present, they have completely lost. People play with people's hearts all their lives, but they still lose in the end. How are you thinking? If I leave today, I'm afraid it will be difficult for you to live until tomorrow. Pixis stood in the hall of the parliament, looking at the crowd in the field. His tone was full of threats. Hearing Pixis' words, everyone subconsciously turned their heads to look at Lin Yan in the conference hall, and then looked out of the window. On the street. On the square in front of the parliament hall, densely packed civilians stood quietly. They hold various weapons in their hands. Hundreds of thousands of people besieged the streets in the central area. The anger in the eyes almost turned into substance. If it weren't for the coaches Pixis and Erwin who fought against the outside world this time. A group of them rushed into the parliament hall long ago. Killed all the congressmen who had deceived them several times. We can promise to let Princess Historia succeed her. But you need to ensure that we can live unscathed. Harris stood up tremblingly from the slumped ground. Before the meeting started, he had already communicated with Rhodes. Wang's unexpected backing caught him off guard. Harris understands, Historia succeeds 10 days. Then, as he who has always been against Lin Yan and others, he will never end well. Therefore, when hundreds of thousands of civilians surrounded the conference hall, Harris, who was once invincible, is like a dog without the backing of his owner. I didn't even have the courage to shout. Do you think you have any chance of bargaining? Lin Yan stood in the parliament hall, holding the head of Nair, the head of the military police regiment, in his hands. After so long planning, now the righteousness of the entire country, as well as the fishing boat, have been in his hands. He relied on the corruption of the military police regiment to send 4 members of the Hunter group into the military police regiment in the early years. Also yesterday successfully seized control of the military police regiment. In addition, after controlling the military police regiment, Harris secretly went to see Rhodes and was followed by Lin Yan's people. If you don't agree to my conditions, my lord, then you don't expect us to cooperate. Yes, if your lord does not agree to us, then we will absolutely not recognize the status of the new king. Seeing Harris pluck up his courage and bargain with Lin Yan, members of parliament kneeling on the ground all around raised their heads one after another, threatening Lin Yan. Kill them all. Lin Yan didn't bother with other councillors anymore, and directly gave the order to kill. Clang. 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 Puff 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 puff. When Fran, Levi, and the other hunters heard Lin Yan's words, the knife in their hand drew out of its sheath instantly without any hesitation. Before the many members of parliament in the parliament hall reacted, the head on their head has completely left the neck. Hundreds of heads fell to the ground, and none of the congressmen survived. The reason why they are able to survive until now is entirely because Lin Yan needs them to incite the anger of the people. Let the people have the determination to overthrow these corrupt rulers. It is also to buy time for everyone in the hunting group to find Rhodes and control the military police regiment. Now Lin Yan has taken control of Fishing Regiment, Military Police Regiment, Survey Corps, Garrison Corps, and Training Corps. Even Rhodes behind the scenes was found by him. Then there is no need for these tool people to exist. You thug, you bang. Nair, the head of the Military Police Regiment, who was pinched by Lin Yan, just wanted to resist, but Lin Yan pinched his head with one hand. Slap. Lin Yan pinched Harris' hair with one hand, and slapped Harris's face with a hand stained with Nair's blood and brains. The tone is as flat as ever. Where is Rod? Although Lin Yan's people traced Rod's approximate trace, they were blocked by a huge door. There are passages through the door, and it is impossible to determine where Rhodes is hiding. Don't kill my lord, I said. Rod. Rhodes is at the end of the third passageway, the manor in the south of the city. My lord, I've told you everything I know, let me go, I don't want to die, my lord. Lin Yan pinched her hair with one hand, and Nair's blood and brains were slapped on her face. Harris was so terrified that he could hardly speak. His legs were like sieves, and he was shaking like a Parkinson's patient. Did I promise not to kill you? After listening to Harris's words, Lin Yan found out where Rhodes was hiding. He lifted Harris in his hand, and then Harris's fat body was thrown into the air like a ball. Boom. Lin Yan kicked Harris's body hard with a powerful and heavy kick. Harris, who weighed hundreds of pounds, was shot out by Lin Yan's kick like a rubber ball. Boom. Harris flew out like a cannonball, instantly piercing through the high wall on one side of the conference hall, and a human-shaped hole instantly appeared on the solid wall. Puff. Harris sprayed blood all over and flew out of the hole. In the square 50 meters away, Harris' body, which had turned into a pile of rotten flesh, fell to the ground. More than 100,000 people dispersed with a bang. Looking at Harris, whose face is still clearly visible, everyone judged that it was Harris who sent 250,000 people to die. Following the direction Harris flew out of, the people saw a figure they admired very much. Lin Yan. Lin Yan. Lin Yan. Lin Yan led everyone out of the conference hall. When more than 100,000 people saw Lin Yan climbing up the high platform, they shouted excitedly. Many of them are people who have returned from Walmaria. In addition, others have also seen the newspaper reports about Lin Yan and Krista in the morning. Lin Yan not only led them to take back Walmaria, he also led the hunter group to overthrow the royal family and nobles who deceived them and exploited them repeatedly. Therefore, Lin Yan's fame in the entire island was pushed to the top. Has become the existence of the uncrowned king. Pixie walked slowly to the high platform and stood beside Lin Yan. Lin Yan lowered his hand slightly, and then the whole square fell silent. Hundreds of thousands of people quietly looked at the two in front of them. Pixis gave Lin Yan a thankful look, then looked at the crowd and began to speak. For more than 100 years, we have lived in fear of Titan domination. It is Lin Yan who gave us hope to defeat Titan. For more than 100 years, we have failed in the battle against the Titan again and again. It was Lin Yan who led us to defeat the Titan and take back the wall. For more than 100 years, conservative congressmen and aristocrats have colluded and exploited. It is Lin Yan who led us to regain the hope of living. And now, please tell me, if there is anyone in this world who is qualified to be king, then who is this person? Pix's impassioned words just fell. Everyone in the hunter group, and everyone in the 4 major legions. There were more than 100,000 people who all focused their attention on Lin Yan. Immediately, a sound like a tsunami erupted in the empty square in an instant, roaring away in all directions of the entire royal capital. The clouds in the sky vibrated and swayed amidst the excited and enthusiastic voices of hundreds of thousands of people. Lin Yan. Lin Yan. Lin Yan. Lin Yan stood on the high platform, his gaze was still as calm as before. There was no expression on his face. Originally, if Harris hadn't rushed to find Rhodes in a hurry and was tracked down by his people. Lin Yan also wanted to have a good play with Rhodes. But now that the location of Rhodes has been determined, then Lin Yan no longer wants to play hide and seek with him. Lin Yan raised his hand again, signaling the audience to be quiet. I declare that I will take over the country starting today. I appointed Hysteria Lei Yi as the new queen, who will exercise the daily management power for me. I appointed Fran Chachi as the new head of the military police regiment to protect the capital for me. I appointed Levi Ackerman as the commander of the 2nd Survey Corps and Irwin to jointly control the Survey Corps. I appointed Dodo Pixis as the national commander-in-chief of the Garrison Corps to take control of the Garrison Corps for me. With the continuous appointment of Lin Yan, the alternation of rights on the entire island was completed in a very short time. It only took Lin Yan less than a week to completely control the core rights of the entire world inside the wall. But before this day, he had made a lot of preparations. Time flies. It was night again in a blink of an eye. King Capital. On top of a tower, Lin Yan, Isabel, Mikasa, Krista, Annie stood on the high platform. Levi, Fran, Irwin, Pixis and other hunters all went out to surround Rhodes. After confirming Rhodes' position, Lin Yan sent them out after going through the appointment process. Looking down from the tower. The king's capital is brightly lit, as bright as day. Boss, you brought us back. Yes, I brought you back. Isabel still remembers how a group of them were hunted down by the nobles in the military police regiment. But in less than 4 years, Lin Yan brought them back and killed them again. Not only returned to the capital. Moreover, the nobles who once intended to carve up their property, as well as the rulers who regarded them as worthless, were killed. Lin Yan never imagined that one day, he would become the head of this country. At the earliest time, he just wanted to live his little life in the underground street. But it keeps getting interrupted. When I left the capital, Isabel was almost caught trying to protect the hunter's belongings. Later, Lin Yan once promised, one day he will lead the crowd back again. Lin Yan looked at Krista, who was standing on the side, and said lightly, Krista, you should know that that guy is your father. He was dead when he acquiesced to have my family slaughtered. Hearing Lin Yan's words, Krista's tone was filled with sadness. What happened back then is in the process of cleaning up the nobles and royal family these days. She already has an understanding. To some extent, her father was the fuse that led to the tragedy of their family. Thinking of my family being reduced to such a situation because of my father. Krista couldn't help but have a sore nose and lowered her head. Seeing Krista bowing her head, she was secretly sad. Lin Yan's big hand wanted to lift Krista's collar. But after thinking about it, Lin Yan's hand finally landed on Krista's head. Well, they are all queens, so they can't be more mature. Lin Yan big brother is annoying, his hair is all messed up. Woo woo woo. Lin Yan's comforting voice was like a flood vent. Krista tried her best not to shed tears at first, but finally cried because of Lin Yan's words. Originally, Krista still missed her father, but after learning what happened to Rhodes back then, she completely gave up. It made Krista, who had been longing for her family, feel a pain in her heart. The September wind blows slowly in the air. The bright starry sky shines on the earth. Thanks. Stinky Mikasa. After crying for a while, Krista took the hand towel that Mikasa handed her and said thank you. Although she said she didn't care. But before Lin Yan appeared, her father had always been her hope that she would not give up on life. Stinky Krista, next time you cry, don't hold big brother's hand. Mikasa watched Krista's movements, her fair face puffed up, and her tone sounded like a child protecting food. Stop arguing. Both of you, you still stick together after arguing every day. Annie looked at Mikasa and Krista enviously. She was very envious of their relationship. Although Mikasa and Krista often quarrel, they always think about each other all the time. Smelly Annie, we heard you talking in your sleep at night. Yes, we heard you, your name is Lin Yan big brother. Hearing Annie's words, Mikasa and Krista stopped arguing instantly. Chi-Chi looked at Annie, who was trying to persuade the fight, and his tone was full of jealousy. The two of them, plus Isabel and have been sleeping in the same room. So they are very familiar with each other. No, Master can prove it. As soon as the words of Krista and Mikasa came out, Annie's face turned red instantly. He looked at Isabel, who was standing to one side in a panic. Okay, you three stop making trouble, it's time to go back to sleep. Isabel smiled slightly. It was the first time she saw Annie so flustered. Humph. Humph. The three of them looked at each other, and then went downstairs in despair. Lin Yan and Isabel are the only hunters in the entire hunter group, but they can't move the three of them. Isabel usually takes good care of the three of them. So they are also willing to listen to Isabel's words. They usually make a lot of noise. Seeing the three of them going downstairs without paying any attention to the other, Lin Yan smiled slightly and looked at Isabel on the side. Since Isabel joined the hunter group, Isabel has been taking care of Lin Yan's daily life. Every day Isabel's life revolves around Lin Yan. It's okay, but boss, your charm is really great. These guys, in addition to training, usually hold chi for you. Isabel tugged Lin Yan's collar gently. She just arrived at Lin Yan's shoulder height and raised her head to look at Lin Yan. Her eyes were so gentle that water could be squeezed out. It's been a lot of hard work over the years. Lin Yan lowered his head slightly, and met Isabel's gentle eyes, and there was a trace of warmth in his steady voice. Under the dim kerosene lamp, two butterflies resting on the wall are close together, flapping their wings. In this charming night, their shadows are intertwined and flying. In a tall tower, inside a warm room, Mikasa, Krista, and Annie each returned to their own beds. After getting along for nearly a year, and fighting side by side dozens of times, the relationship between the three has long been close. Although occasionally angry, but in private, they are very harmonious with each other. There's one more piece of bread, who wants it? Give it to Annie, I just ate one. Krista took a loaf of bread from her little box. He held it in his hand and handed it to the two lying on the bed. Mikasa wiped his dagger clean again. This is what Lin Yan once built for her, in addition to the other two sharp blades. She carried this dagger with her at all times. Looking at Krista holding the bread, Mikasa pouted in Annie's direction. Thanks, Krista, that's... Annie was just about to pick up the bread Krista handed over, when she saw a familiar light flashing outside the city. In the city, brightly lit, there are lights of various colors everywhere on the street. In order to celebrate the coming of the new king, hundreds of thousands of people stayed up all night, all parading to celebrate. Drink a drink for the new king. That's... A group of people gathered on the street to drink, and an old man just raised his glass when he saw a horrifying scene outside the city. Stationed in the regiment barracks. For victory, for King Lin Yan drink A. The wine glass that Pixis had just raised to many colleagues suddenly fell to the ground. Training Corps camp. I must become a person like King Lin Yan. How can a guy like you watching many teammates celebrating for the new King Lin Yan? Reiner put away the seriousness in his eyes, smirked and talked to Jean, and he stopped in the middle of speaking. In the tower room rumble, Krista looked at Annie's hand in midair. She followed Annie's gaze suspiciously, and suddenly felt the ground tremble. The distant scene also entered Krista's eyes. Outside the city, the southern suburbs, in a huge explosion. The flames lit up half the sky. A titan about 170 meters. Walked step by step from a faraway place. Even if their room is already located in the high tower, they still can only look up at the titan. What is this titan? Annie froze. With such a high titan, she has never seen relevant records in the Titan School in Melee. 170 meters. In front of this titan, the 50-meter city wall is like a low threshold. On the tower. When the explosion sounded, Lin Yan saw the huge figure between the wall of Xena and the wall of Luo Han in the distance. That guy actually stood up. The moment he saw the titan, Lin Yan already recognized who the titan was outside the city. Rod Rei Yi Si. Lin Yan did not expect that Rhodes chose to inject spinal fluid without any hesitation. They didn't even try to deal with themselves 1 or 2 times. Compared with the original book, Rhodes can only crawl on the ground. The current Rhodes is probably a lot stronger. Stand up after all. Inside the capital city. Is that a titan? How can there be such a tall titan? Run, everyone, run. Run towards the inner city, spread out. Hundreds of thousands of people ran out of their homes upon hearing the huge shock. The titan in the distance seems to be standing against the sky and stepping on the earth. Every step can make people feel the ground shaking. Looking at the scene in front of them, everyone instantly lost their ability to think. Stationed in the regiment barracks, everyone, go up the city wall. Pixis suddenly felt a little dizzy. Just judging from the size, it is a titan outside the city. Definitely bigger than any titan he had ever heard of. If the titan is allowed to enter the city, the capital will be turned into a pile of ruins by the titan in front of him. At that time, the results of their hard work will be destroyed. Nearly 300,000 people in the entire capital will be buried together. Call out. Boom. The green flare starts where Lin Yan is. Continuously lacing into the sky from various places in the city, green smoke columns were pulled up to the sky. This is a sign of an attack. Although I don't know what happened to the hunter group outside the city to encircle Rhodes. But there is one thing that Lin Yan can be sure of. That means the crowd's encirclement and suppression failed. Without Rhodes transformed into a titan, any member of the hunter group is enough to kill him. But Lin Yan didn't expect that for some reason. Rhodes decisively used the spinal fluid injection. Get my combat equipment. Isabel froze in place. She said that she had killed many titans with Lin Yan. But the one in front of me is too huge. Hearing Lin Yan's words, Isabel came back to his senses and ran back to the castle quickly. Shortly after, Isabel, holding Lin Yan's combat uniform and weapon, came back again. She is back with Mikasa, Krista and Annie. Originally, Mikasa, Krista and Annie were getting ready for bed. But when they saw the 100-meter titan before lying down, the three of them quickly put on their combat equipment after being dazed for a second or two. Followed Isabel and set off. This time it will be very dangerous, you wait here for my return. Lin Yan has no idea how strong Rhodes is when he stands up. After all, in the original book, he moved underground and almost destroyed the king's capital. Therefore, letting the 4 people whose strength is much lower than myself and Levi go, is no different from sending them to death. Lin Yan didn't want to be distracted while fighting. In addition, once he enters the battlefield, it is difficult for him to take care of everyone. Big brother, Mikasa hadn't spoken yet. Lin Yan took the knife in Isabel's hand, put on the 3-dimensional mobile device and jumped down from the tower. Break. The moment Lin Yan was about to land, the steel cables at his waist shot out, and two light gray lines connected to the high wall in the distance. Immediately, Lin Yan's body was pulled into a bow shape. The wind was blowing violently by his ears, and Lin Yan was constantly approaching the wall of Sheena. Break. 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 Looking at Lin Yan, who disappeared into the distance in the blink of an eye. The four of them no longer hesitated to activate the three-dimensional mobile devices on their bodies, and followed quickly. Staying in place like a waste, this is unbearable for the four of them. Big brother, you will never leave me behind. Pulled into the air by the steel cable, Mikasa looked at Lin Yan, who had turned into a small black dot in the distance. A stubborn smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. These years, no matter where Lin Yan goes, she always stays by Lin Yan's side. Mikasa is used to seeing Lin Yan every day. As long as she doesn't see Lin Yan for a day, Mikasa will feel upset. In this world, Lin Yan is the only family member left for her. So even if she herself died, Mikasa would never allow anything to happen to Lin Yan. Lin Yan, big brother, no matter where you go, Krista will follow. Krista is right behind Mikasa. For Krista, the world began to become better because of the appearance of Lin Yan. Before Lin Yan appeared, she spent every day in the cold eyes of her family and the rejection of her peers. The appearance of Lin Yan made Krista see the hope of living in this world. Bastard, whoever wants your protection has rushed up alone. Annie was also moving quickly, when Lin Yan asked them to stay where they were. She felt the long-lost feeling of being protected. No matter how strong Annie is, she is still a girl, and she once longed to be guarded. But later Annie discovered that only herself is her greatest reliance. So she began to slowly become indifferent. Training like hell, at Marley, she was one of the hardest working people in the whole training ground. A body of fighting skills, practiced to perfection. But no matter how strong she becomes, deep down in her heart she still longs to be protected. Lin Yan's unintentional actions moved Annie's cold heart. Every time you rush to the front, you know, I'm worried. Isabel shook her head. In the past, when she was a child, Lin Yan often went out alone to get them food. Every time Lin Yan asked her to stay at home and not go out, Isabel will be anxiously waiting for Lin Yan to come back. Later, Lin Yan often took people out to hunt titans. Isabel was even more worried and couldn't sleep well for a few days. Isabel would rather live an ordinary life with Lin Yan, even if the food is worse. As long as she can stay with Lin Yan, for Isabel, it is already the happiest thing in the world. So she stayed where she was and waited, saying that Isabel would not agree. Titan, about 170 meters away, looks like a walking mountain. More than half of the entire Titan's body was already submerged in the mist that slowly rose in the dark night. This is enough to prove how huge this Titan is. Action room. Isabel kept her eyes on Lin Yan all the time, and the four of them were getting closer and closer to the city wall. Bang bang bang. 100 meters away, the Titan's forward speed began to increase. Boulders the size of small cars were kicked out during the 100-meter Titan's fast run. Most of them flew out to both sides, but there were still some shooting in the direction of Lin Yan. Just as Lin Yan shot into midair, a stone the size of a car shot out from a distance in front of him. The boulder was as big as a runaway car. The speed is so fast that it brings up a hurricane and makes a whirring sound. A long distance away, Lin Yan's black hair was blown into the air. But Lin Yan didn't slow down, nor did he dodge anything. From the perspective of the people on the ground, the momentary scene of Lin Yan and the boulder is like an egg colliding with a watermelon in the air. The faster Lin Yan is more like crashing into a boulder actively. Crack. Lin Yan moved his hand in midair and the boulder that was about to hit him was cut in half in an instant. Why did the stone suddenly crack? It was cut open by the king. The hundreds of thousands of people who looked up at the sky saw Lin Yan colliding with the stone in midair. Many people thought that Lin Yan was about to be injured, but the moment Lin Yan touched the boulder split into two halves. Because Lin Yan's movements are too fast, in the eyes of many people, it is like a boulder suddenly split. However, there are still some people who can see that the boulder was cut in half by Lin Yan. City. Wall. All garrison regiments and military police regiment are in place. The cannons are being loaded on the walls. Hurry up and gather all the cannons for me. Pixis was sweating profusely from running, and every time he raised his head, he could see the distant Titan approaching.